The guy sleeps peacefully. In a quiet and peaceful atmosphere, it seems that nothing foreshadows trouble. Suddenly, a book falls from the shelf onto the main character and disturbs his sleep. The guy gets up in bewilderment. He still hasn't understood what disturbed his rest. Suddenly, the main character sits up in his bed. There is a mirror opposite the bed, and he looks into it. The guy is horrified by what he sees in the mirror. He doesn't understand why there's another person looking at him on the other side. The protagonist recalls that just recently he was a young archaeologist, but now he looks like an ordinary high school student. The guy finds two books next to him that he hasn't seen before. He is perplexed as to what they could be about, since he has never seen such books before. The main character discovers another book. The main character decides to pick it up to take a closer look at the book, but suddenly he gets an electric shock. The guy sees many different events and memories from the life of the body's past owner. The protagonist looks out the window and does not see any familiar views, realizing that he is not on Earth but on a planet called the Blue Star. On this planet, everything is completely different from the familiar Earth. Here, everyone has the opportunity to become an extraordinary being and awaken the highest wisdom. The character flies on a huge bird. People on the planet Blue Star also have outstanding abilities, and this is the ability to control animals. A man develops his brain through meditation, which will subsequently help him tame and control divine beasts. The character stands in front of the animals he tamed, and thanks to the ability to control them, people were able to create a civilization called the Age of Beast Control. The girl sits on a luxurious chair surrounded by animals obeying her. The character flies on a large electric ray straight towards the frightened people, because the strongest supernatural animals often attack people. The boy realizes that everything he knows about animals and their abilities is in the memory of a boy named John, although the archaeologist himself has the same name. The boy's father and mother, who will never wake up, lie surrounded by angry animals and debris. An archaeologist who finds himself in the body of a boy realizes that the world he has found himself in through unknown circumstances is not much better than the one on Earth. The guy realizes that he is no longer the same person he used to be, so he goes to the scanner and opens his to-do list. The main character discovers a huge amount of advertising on the screen and is very surprised by it. John closes all the advertisements that appeared on the screen earlier and sees the full plan, realizing that he is now an ordinary breeder trainee at an animal breeding base. The guy takes a book that teaches him how to work. He works part-time at an animal breeding base only to become an animal master. The main character realizes that he has a lot of problems in his life: loans, a low standard of living, and a difficult family situation. John thinks that he needs to finish his plans for the day first. The boy remembers that snow wolves are pack animals and extremely dangerous carnivores, and he is not sure if he can handle feeding them alone. The main character is confident that this will not be a problem because he has an innate talent, telepathy. The boy stands surrounded by animals because he knows how to communicate with all creatures, a skill that is useless in combat, but nevertheless very important. Since John has the ability to talk to animals, feeding the snow wolves will not be a problem for him. Suddenly, the guy touches the magic cube in order to try to get to know the system better. The main character finds himself in an unknown space and flies in the sky. Suddenly, the boy sees a book in this space and realizes that this is his second special skill. The talent reference book is now unlocked for John. The guy realizes that people can awaken certain talents when activating space, which are divided into enhancement and specialization in a ratio of 9-to-1. People with the enhancement type can enhance certain types of beasts. This is a typical example of a combat talent. Specialization skills are much more complex and varied than enhancement skills. John's innate talent for telepathy is one of the most common specializations, although it is not particularly powerful, but it can easily find work with it. Now the main character gets another skill. He will be able to copy and record the abilities of supernatural beasts, and then the abilities included in this book can be taught to other beasts. This does not apply to people. In order to successfully copy the abilities of animals, certain conditions must be met. One must see the animal use its abilities, physically touch it, and the gap between the first two conditions must not be more than an hour. There is also the ability to copy and accumulate skills. If the protagonist wants to teach a beast certain skills, then depending on the skill level, a certain amount of physical strength must be expended during training. John needs to take into account that a certain animal naturally has a certain level of compatibility with a particular skill. The guy thinks that the talent of recording and accumulating skills is something to be envied. John continues reading the book and learns that the power of a beastmaster depends not only on the beast's abilities, but also on the development of talents and skills, the rarity of a particular skill, and progress. The protagonist closes the book and thinks that now with this book he will be able to collect the rarest talents. The guy also thinks that 2 skills are only to his advantage, although there is no mention of 2 talents in the memory of the former owner. John doesn't believe that if this happened, then it should be possible. As someone who ended up in another world, he is definitely not an ordinary person. The main character thinks that the past John from this world had the skill of telepathy, and he has the talent of copying. Eventually comes to the conclusion that this simply needs to be accepted as a given, as compensation for ending up in this world. Suddenly the ball wakes up, the protagonist pays attention to it, but realizing that he is late for work, he leaves the house. A boy drives a special work vehicle in search of food to feed the snow wolves. John finds pieces of fresh meat and admires them, saying that these animals eat better than people. On the way to the wolves, the protagonist meets 3 more workers who ask him if he is going to feed the snow wolves. They warn the boy that the animals are not very friendly and ask him to be more careful. John's colleagues offer to help, but he refuses. The guy continues on his way, thinking that he has no memories of him. John speculates that perhaps because of what the body's owner had to endure, he likes solitude and is not particularly sociable, which is why he was unable to make friends at work. The hero decides that he first needs to get to know this world better, and then start establishing interpersonal relationships, and in the meantime, he has already arrived at the place. Unbeknownst to the guy, the angry wolves have already turned their attention to him and are preparing to attack. At some point, he turns around and notices that a pack of animals has already approached him, baring their teeth and looking menacingly. The wolves tell John that he is late and that they are starving to death, and now the boy is in great danger. The guy is very afraid and already regrets that he came to this job. He hopes that the Wolf King will save him. And then, out of nowhere, the Wolf King appears, pushing the wolves from his pack in different directions, thereby saving the poor boy. The proud, stately, handsome Wolf King walks towards John. The king approaches the frightened and confused hero and touches the boy's forehead with his nose. Suddenly, a reference book appears, flying out of the guy's clothes. He doesn't understand why it appeared right now. It turns out that the Wolf King's skill, namely restraint, is now recorded in his handbook, and now John will be able to teach it to any supernatural beast that has the aptitude for it. The main character is very happy that he can now use this talent of the Wolf King. He is glad that he has a powerful gift of controlling animals. The Wolf King approaches the boy who, using his telepathy skill, understands what the wolf is telling him. John is glad that he is no longer in danger because the mark of the Wolf King works, and the rest of the pack has become more obedient towards him. Stroking one of the wolves from the pack, the hero realizes that he can now teach him the skill of restraint received from the King of the Wolves. Now he can create the King of the Wolves with his own hands. John realizes that if he acts rashly, problems may arise. The hero continues to work, although he is a little disappointed that he will not be able to copy the skills of other wolves, since they also have talents characteristic of their race. The guy drives home peacefully, thinking about how incredibly lucky he is to have a top-level skill in his reference book. Suddenly, a green eagle appears in the sky, which can be trained to use the containment skill. It turns out that it is possible to create not only a wolf king, but also a bird king. John thinks that if it weren't for work, he would probably do this. But the workday is not over yet. Everything has its time. The hero sees a panda on a billboard, realizing that this is the animal chosen by the former owner of this body. On the Blue Star planet, the panda race was not fully formed, so they only have the ability to harden. John thinks that pandas are rather lazy, but the deposit has already been paid and it is a good offer, and in the end the new owner of the body agrees that the predecessor's choice was a good one. Unfortunately, pandas have limitations in their race and skill development, as well as benefits, and the hero thinks he can handle it. It dawns on the guy that pandas can be used to mine minerals and use their skill, as well as John's recently acquired talent of restraint, after which he can add skills from the acceleration and perception categories. The main character is happy that he came up with such a combination. Perhaps his panda can become the king of the pandas. But suddenly the guy realizes that only those who have a breeder certificate and have completed an internship can take out a loan. The hero is briefly upset because he will only be able to take his baby panda after completing an internship, as this business requires expertise in all aspects. John returns to work, hoping that he will be able to copy the new skills. After some time, the boy finds himself in training in observing and recording silkworm observations, which requires maximum concentration. If he fails to complete the task, he will be left alone with 1,000 silkworms. Looking at the insects, John thinks that individually they are too weak, but they have room to grow, and all the conditions have been created for this. The hero uses his telepathy skill and laughs at the little silkworms, not expecting that such creatures could cause him any harm. Insects pay attention to this, some are offended, while others look at him angrily. Suddenly they create projectiles of silk and spray them at the guy's face at incredible speed. The hero, perplexed, thinks that at least this is harmless for himself. By holding one of the silkworms on his finger, John learns that it can be trained in the skill of containment. The guy is very surprised by this, as he could not even imagine that silkworms could be compatible with this talent. A new skill called silken bonds is added to the book. John sees that this skill cannot be taught to anyone, is a little disappointed by this, but reassures himself that at least it is a skill. In the reference book, the hero learns that this skill can be retaught to a silkworm that has already mastered it. He also learns that relearning a skill increases his proficiency. The guy is worried and seriously doubts that he will be able to pull this off in front of a bunch of people. Returning home, John sits down at his laptop and begins studying the species and abilities of animals raised at the animal breeding base. Unfortunately, no animal has the skills needed for it. The hero believes that the awakened skills of the animals raised here are too low level and not worth copying. The guy doesn't know if there's a limit to how many skills he can copy, but he clearly needs to focus on copying only mid to high level ones. Suddenly it dawns on the guy that at the base you can find not only animals, but also quite a few animal masters. Full of confidence, John begins to search for the information he needs. The hero goes outside in search of the healing skill he needs. The guy fakes pain, tells the doctor that he sprained his wrist, pretending to be ill. The hero approaches the doctor, who thinks that he is a trainee who has just finished school, since they are the ones who tend to get injured most often. The girl calms John down and says that she will cure everything now. Sitting in his seat, the doctor begins to use his healing ability. The guy admires her skills and is happy that he will be able to get him for his own purposes. The doctor says that everything will be ready very soon, asks not to worry, and guarantees that the pain will go away. The main character gains a new skill called quick healing. The girl tells John that everything should be fine now and reports that the dandelions told her that the injury was minor. The guy says that next time he will be more careful. The hero thinks that by going to the doctor under the pretext of an injury in order to copy her abilities, he actually wasted her time. He decides that tomorrow he will buy some treats that the plant pets like and thank them. Once home, the boy examines his hand and reflects on how, despite the minor injury, the girl still used the pet's power, as it was an opportunity to improve her skill. To improve your skills, you can also use John's handbook. This can be considered an alternative method for accelerating pet training. The protagonist lies in his bed, thinking that the doctor is a trainee beastmaster, and when his abilities reach a certain level, he can take part in the certification, according to the results of which he can raise his rank to a professional beastmaster. John doesn't know how long it will take him, with 2 skills, to become a professional beastmaster. After 3 months, the limit of abilities recorded in the reference book was exhausted, and the guy is glad that he did not rush and copy low-level skills. The hero finds the skill of foresight in the highest-ranking birds that patrol the territory in the skies above the base. The next skill, called absolute sleep, was obtained from one of the breeder's animals from the base, the sleep demon. This ability helps the animal enter a deep sleep phase. The ability is considered restorative. John believes that these 2 skills will save mountains of gold in the future. The guy sits in his room, hoping that the panda will be able to understand him, because now they are too weak. He of course assumed that copying skills has its limit, but 5 is very little. The protagonist finds himself in an empty space again, where he discovered his second skill, suggesting that adding pages may depend on new specific abilities, which requires leveling up the Beastmaster. A Beastmaster can improve his or her level through meditative practices. The Beastmaster must continuously strengthen, change, and expand the Beastmaster's space. The more stable the Beastmaster's space, the more likely it is to recruit higher-ranking beasts. The better the internal atmosphere of a space, the faster the development of the beast will be. The larger the scale of the space, the more beasts can be contracted with. Each Beastmaster decides for himself in which direction to move. John has a goal to become a professional beastmaster within a year. The main character goes by bus to the panda breeding base. The country the guy is currently in is one of the most ancient states and is often called the brilliant or dazzling East. The bus continues its journey through the beautiful landscapes of this second-ranked city. Pandas are a common pet not only in this city but also throughout China. Now that John has arrived at the panda breeding base, he will be able to pick up the animal he reserved in advance. He runs to meet his pet. The hero has been waiting for this for so long and preparing for this meeting. A tired John breathes heavily and complains that the stairs were very long. He says that he doesn't find it surprising why there are so few people here. Suddenly his thoughts are interrupted by something, and the hero looks up at something standing in front of him. This is a huge panda. Apparently the guy did not expect to see this at all. The beast is so huge that it could easily crush such a small guy compared to it. The panda comes up to John and, rubbing his hands, greets him. The animal tells the hero that it is an employee of this base. Panda tells John not to worry because it's just a suit, but the boy doesn't understand how anyone can wear a suit in this heat. The man in the suit explains that this is necessary in order to more deeply understand and feel the mood of the pandas, because if you want to raise a strong panda, you must fully understand it. This is a basic skill for any breeder. Panda Man praises John for understanding him, and he, in turn, finally manages to hear the female voice under the suit. The hero says that he is still only a beginner, and is far from being the teacher Nicholas. A girl in a suit hugs a guy and says that this method is available to everyone, and also offers to buy 2 suits at a good discount. It turns out that he calls his new animal Teacher. Panda suggests going inside to quickly pick up a new animal for John from the base. Apparently inside, the girl can finally relax and take a little break from her costume. A long-haired girl in a cute sweater with a panda appears in front of the guy. John thinks that she probably loves pandas too much and hopes that the girl won't sell him this sweater too. The guys reach the reception, where the girl informs the hero that all the materials are located here. A panda lover tells a guy that he can get a panda today, which he is of course very happy about. He asks if he can go and choose one. The girl reports that the guy arrived too late and there is only one panda left. The panda is a bit of a problem and the hero thinks he's been made a fool of. The boys walk through the panda breeding base, admiring the beautiful views. Along the way, they encounter many pandas resting and relaxing peacefully. John is touched by this and thinks that they are indeed as passive as he imagined. The girl interrupts the hero's thoughts and says that the adults are very calm this season, but the little ones are a little more lively. The boy looks with delight at the little panda he meets on their way. She looks at the guys with distrust, not yet understanding what awaits her. The boys go down the stairs closer to the panda, while the hero says that the panda looks quite normal. Unexpectedly for everyone, the animal runs and hits its head against a tree, and then the guy takes his words back. The little panda does a somersault and lands on the ground. The girl tells John that this creature's birth was not easy, so it is physically weaker than others, and it has not yet managed to awaken its abilities. The later an animal awakens its power, the less inclined it is to master any skill. It is not particularly talented, so it keeps itself apart from the others. All these factors influence the formation of his temperament. The girl explains that pandas are generally not very conflict-prone, and that what he did now, namely hitting his head on the tree, is training his physical strength. This panda is very disciplined and constantly trains to awaken his powers as soon as possible. This is a special case because the panda has a dream and is not lazy. The guy admires the animal, saying that he is very hard-working and purposeful, although he does not have any talents. The girl tries to calm John down, saying that the panda is just developing more slowly than the others and that it's possible to work with him. A panda lover says such a diligent animal of this species is a rarity. The attendant also says that this panda has a very bad sleep schedule and eats poorly, and that this needs to be corrected first before training can begin. Despite everything, John agrees to take the animal in. He believes that diligence and character are what is needed, because he does not want a passive animal that will only eat and sleep. The girl asks if he is absolutely sure, since talent is very important for beastmasters. The guy, not outraged because he really admires such dedication and hard work, thinks that they can become friends, after which he asks if there will be a discount. The girl explains that they treat all their charges equally, so there will be no discount, but on top of that she will give the hero a month's supply of bamboo. The guy is very happy about this news and thanks her. The girl approaches the panda, telling him that he is being taken away and asks if he is happy. Using his telepathic talent, John understands that the panda is saying that she will never become a slave and will become stronger herself. She shouts that pandas are not afraid of anything and they do not need masters. The girl calmly takes the animal in her arms, and the guy, looking from the side, understands that it definitely has character. The panda lover talks to the beast, explaining that if he tries to escape, he will have nothing to eat, and the beastmaster will help him become stronger, and the issue with the unawakened power will be resolved. She also says that living conditions there are more comfortable, there is a lot of tasty food, everything for a happy life. The panda agrees to this, telling the guy that he will provide shelter and food. John looks at his new beast and thinks that he will definitely provide him with this, but when the money comes... The panda is happy about this and tells the protagonist that pandas will never be slaves unless they provide housing and food. The girl is glad that everything is fine and the panda is in good hands. John looks at his beast and thinks that once he becomes a great beast master, he will have everything he wants. The panda looks at the guy with a friendly expression. The hero must be sure that his animal will work just as hard. John asks the girl if they can now sign the contract. She tells him to go and she will take care of the rest. The boy starts casting spells and thinks that the other overlords weren't interested in this panda because she had no talent, but he has a different opinion about it. Lack of talent can be corrected in the Beastmaster's space. There have been such cases before. The panda's talent is much better now because she has perseverance and hard work. She just wants to be recognized. During John's witchcraft, the girl calms the beast, asking him not to resist. The boy is confident that the panda, who was disdained by all his relatives and masters, will definitely become stronger with him. The hero hopes that the animal will have a better future. John says he's more tired than he thought, as if all the juices had been squeezed out of him. Suddenly he feels some kind of heat, but quickly guesses that it is due to his acquired ability of instant recovery. The girl congratulates the protagonist on his contract with the panda, but advises him to first let her get used to the space and not to summon her too often. She says that if the panda can quickly get used to the prevailing atmosphere in the space, then its abilities should awaken within a week. John sees that the handbook now records the discovery of a new contact with a pet. The physical characteristics of the Beastmaster have been improved, and more skills can now be recorded. The hero understands that he will be able to use some of the power of his pets, which is why the girl managed to suppress the panda. Even though the animal is weak, it will still be able to offer the guy something. The panda lover anxiously asks John if he is okay. He replies that everything is fine, it's just that his body has undergone some drastic changes. She reassures him that at first everything will be unusual, but then it will become normal. Returning to her duties, the girl reports that paperwork needs to be filled out and explains how to feed the panda. The girl also says that when the supplies run out, John can always come to her for a new portion, but this of course will no longer be free. The guy says that he has one more small request and the girl looks at him with incomprehension. John asks if he can come to the panda breeding base to raise his animal properly. He wants to know more about the natural habitat. The girl replies that he can do this and take the panda with him because it is still his home. But the food still won't be free, and the guy thinks that nothing will just happen, but he could get the ability. The guy feeds his panda and thinks that he needs to quickly return home and teach his animal a skill. Returning home, John looks around the area in his house and thinks it would be a good training ground. The guy calls his panda and asks it to help him clean up. A panda appears in the backyard of a house and walks towards the hero in a friendly manner. John pets his pet, and he in turn smiles contentedly and does not resist. The hero is touched by this and decides that he doesn't need help. He'll clean everything up himself. A boy sitting opposite his panda tells his pet that he is currently teaching him the panda's hardening skill. The beast manages to awaken the ability to harden the first time. The guy is very happy about this, thinking that in order to awaken her, the beast simply needed to get a good night's sleep. He strokes her, saying that the girl from the animal breeding base convinced him that it would take a week, but thanks to the function of space, to grow and develop, everything went incredibly quickly. John suggests that his pet go clean up the yard, since that's what he called him for in the first place. He doesn't understand what is being discussed and looks at the hero with bewilderment. The guy gets upset and says that he probably needs to try training the panda again. John opens his book and explains that it takes at least a month of intense practice to develop a skill from a beginner level to a trained level. If you use the skill training guide, it will take several days to reach this level. Since this is a very energy-consuming process, the guy decides to test it on the green silkworm's most useless skill. Unfortunately, John can't do anything because this skill is incompatible with pandas. The guy is looking for where he can find someone to test this skill on. Suddenly, he notices a green silkworm on a branch and understands that he needs to catch it as quickly as possible. John points out to the panda that he needs to catch him. He says that he needs to be serious, because this is the first battle after awakening his abilities. The panda looks purposefully towards the target he needs. The animal rushes towards the tree where the green silkworm sits. It quickly reaches its goal, confident in its movements and actions. The panda swings and takes a green silkworm, sitting calmly on a branch. John is happy that his pet has succeeded and praises him. The beast releases the silkworm from its clutches onto the ground, and it and John stand ominously over the small insect. The boy has only one chance to teach him a new skill. He can't miss such a wonderful example. The hero pounces on the silkworm and covers it with his hands, afraid that it will escape, and the panda sits on the ground and looks at the guy's actions in bewilderment. John is holding a small insect in his hands, and his pet is standing behind him, watching what is happening with interest. The silkworm shoots a stream of silk at the guy to defend himself from attack. It's not easy to escape from the guy, because he spent 3 months on an internship and is the best at catching silkworms. John talks to the insect and asks it to be calm, threatening to feed it to the panda. The animal is drooling, hoping that it is edible because all he loves in life is eating. The hero sees that the silkworm can be taught a skill, thereby raising its stats. And then the guy opens the reference book and starts teaching the silkworm the necessary skills in order to see what will happen. During the magic process, the insect asks for help with its entire appearance. It was not ready for this. John sees that the silkworm is exhausted by all this. The panda does not understand what is happening and stands with his mouth open. Suddenly the guy feels tired and hungry. Despite his condition, he discovers something that catches his attention. The silkworm develops another pattern on its back, and the hero still doesn't know if everything went well. At this moment, the experience of using the multiplication skill in the silkworm's consciousness made him immediately feel stronger. Suddenly, the insect jumps out of John's hands and he doesn't have time to react. The silkworm attacks, wrapping its clinging material tightly around his arms. John notices that the silk threads are much stronger and more durable than last time. The protagonist breaks the threads with his hands. The silkworm cannot inflict enough damage on John due to the difference in size and strength. The guy approaches the insect and tries to calm him down, saying that everything is fine. He doesn't know if it's possible to say that his skill has increased to the level of a trained one. John thinks that the quality of this silkworm's threads is comparable to that of silkworms raised in the base and fed with spiritual herbs. The cultivation rank may be different, but the skill level is definitely high. In addition to developing the skill level, it is also necessary to increase the development rank. Perhaps green silkworms have a deeper understanding of racial skills, which leads to an increase in their strength and a second awakening of the skill. When John teaches skills, he gives up some of his power, but the guy is nevertheless glad that the experiment was a success, as a result of which the consumption of physical energy is acceptable. Opening his reference book, the hero realizes that he will only be able to train the animal again in 8 hours. This is quite normal because if he abuses the training of animal skills, his body will be exhausted. If he wants to use the capabilities of this reference book, then he needs to become stronger. John looks at the silkworm in its cage and continues to reflect on what he learned today. It is unknown how much time he will need to teach his pet more serious skills. The guy suggests that perhaps there are some products for accelerated recovery. Perhaps you won't have to wait for the skill to recharge. Since there are special drugs for animals, then there should be ones for overlords too. The main character tells the panda that he will cook minced pork with young bamboo shoots and white rice for dinner. John invites his pet to rest while he prepares dinner, and when everything is ready, he will call the animal to the table. The animal is puzzled as to how it can rest when it has finally awakened its ability. Panda tells John that he is already far behind his peers and wants to train right now. The guy's pet goes berserk. The girl from the base was definitely right when she said he had some kind of problem. The hero allows the panda to practice in the yard on his own, which he is undoubtedly very happy about. The guy warns the animal that there is no necessary training equipment in his backyard yet. John suggests practicing activating, holding, and blocking the hardening. He tells the pet to try to hone the skill and also to use it on a specific part of his body. Panda agrees and says that he will do everything that John asked. The guy knows that the panda wants to bang her head against a wall again. Not a tree, she just came here, but already wants to destroy everything. Discipline is good, but everything needs to be a little different, so the hero needs to find a way to earn money to buy the necessary equipment. John can breed green silkworms, and if the quality of the silk they produce is high enough, then the products made from it can be sold at a good price, but he needs to manage to combine work with the silkworm and the panda. The boy thinks that when his skill level increases, the quality of the silk will be even better, and then a bundle of silk threads will be able to cover all the financial needs of the family. The hero is very tired. The panda has also worked hard and is already fast asleep when John returns to his room. John knows that his pet doesn't like to eat before training, but even after eating, he continues to work well. While the panda is sleeping soundly, the guy promises the panda that he will never leave him, no matter what. The protagonist returns the animal to the Beastmaster's space. Lying in bed, John realizes that he has never slept with a panda and regrets sending him to his space. In the morning, the green silkworm shoots out its silk web and lifts green leaves from the ground into its cell. While no one is around, the insect has breakfast on fresh and sweet leaves. Suddenly, John comes out of the house, shouting throughout the yard, which greatly frightens the silkworm. The guy opens his handbook and sees that the ability recovery time has passed and now he can successfully teach skills. Today, the hero plans to teach his pet the skill of hardening, but before that, he wants to check something. John tells his pet that he needs to go shopping, and then he will come back for the animal and let it out. The boy good-naturedly approaches the cage with the green silkworm, remembering that he forgot to say hello, and waves his hand to it. John notices that the insect used its skill to reach the leaves. While going shopping, the guy thinks about his new friend, because he is also a little strange. Other silkworms strive to eat as many nutritious plants as possible in order to grow and develop, but this one doesn't care, it just eats leaves and doesn't care about anything. The boy decides that on the way home, he will pick some more leaves to diversify his silkworm's diet. Unfortunately, John cannot afford spiritual herbs, but other plants must also contain a lot of nutrients. He will not allow the one who will produce excellent silk for him in the future to die of hunger. Coming out onto a busy street, the hero notices that everything there has changed a lot. He notices a man riding in a cart pulled by snow wolves. The guy looks at this with his mouth open, thinking that this is a good concern for the environment, even though the animals are not being used for their intended purpose. John turns around and sees a cat running towards him. The cat runs away from its owner, who runs after it and asks it to stop. The guy looks at them with bewilderment. Pets are usually more disciplined. Cats like the one the guy met usually don't have contracts. The gem cat's pupil ability can be activated by various gems, which is how they evolve, but the price of gems is currently much higher than the price of the cats themselves. Without the gem, a cat can only be a simple pet, but a cat with the ability activated is an excellent fighter. Finally, John reaches the store he needs with tonic drinks. A cute salesgirl asks a guy if he needs help finding what he came for. The hero asks if he can sell silk in this store, to which the girl replies that there are certain nutritional requirements for the silkworms that produce silk. Once they are convinced of the high quality of the silk, they will be able to sell it. The girl hands over a booklet saying that it contains everything about the topic that interests the guy. John sees the prices for silk in the brochure and realizes that he can make a lot of money from this and live happily, and also promises himself that if he does not become the master of the beasts within a year, he will go to work at the base to support the development of the panda. Selling silk is the right thing to do. You just need to perfect the quality of the material you produce, and then the guy will be able to cover all the costs of training and developing the panda. The seller asks if John wants to sell the silk, to which he replies that he doesn't yet, and asks to ring up 2 bottles of tonic. A guy walks out of a store with a huge bag holding the heavy bag on his shoulder. John understands that living without a phone is quite problematic. Because he couldn't even pay for a bus ticket, he decides that as soon as he has money, he will definitely buy himself a phone. When the guy comes home, he puts all his purchases on the table. The first thing he bought were capsules of light spirits. They are made from different types of plants that are beneficial for living beings. These capsules eliminate fatigue and strengthen the body. They allow a person to return to normal and feel invigorated. They are said to be quite effective. Many beastmasters like to use them after a battle. John can't afford to eat these capsules like candy, but with this drug he will be able to minimize the stress on his body when training animals. The guy waves his hands and calls his pet for training. The panda appears in front of the guy, looking much more cheerful than the last time they saw each other. The pet is in the mood for training. He wants to go to training, and the training will last 6 hours. John stops the panda and reminds him that there must be a balance between work and rest. The beast absorbs a lot of energy from the master's space. Most of it is John's energy. The guy argues that he needs to think about improving the space, but on the other hand, he should use the reference book. John is restoring his strength with the help of absolute sleep, which he will now teach the panda, and in the meantime, he suggests practicing the skill of hardening. The protagonist touches the panda's head and summons a handbook to begin training. The green silkworm looks at all this from the side. He does not understand what will happen now. The guy gets really tired training his pet. It's much more difficult for him than training a silkworm. John thought he was going to faint from fatigue, but he had a tonic he bought this morning. He drinks 1 capsule and immediately feels relief, much better than before. The hero notices the panda and looks in his direction with a little fear. The animal glows and smiles at the guy, confidence visible in its eyes. The panda suddenly raises his fist up and uses the hardening ability in his paw. Suddenly, she swings with all her might and smashes the asphalt into crumbs. John is shocked by what he saw. He does not understand how this happened and why the panda did it. The beast himself was very surprised by his abilities. He suddenly became very strong. The hero explains to his pet that his hardening skill is at the level of a trained one, and that after this, his strength will double. Panda is very happy about this because at the base he could not achieve such results even with persistent training. John asks his pet if he still wants to start training. The beast says that he did nothing to improve his abilities. It is against nature. The suddenly increased level of skill makes him feel obligated and dissatisfied with himself. Then the guy tells the panda to return all his abilities back because it's all thanks to his energy. The animal resists this and refuses, suggesting to leave everything as is. While this level of skill may not be the beast's doing, he knows how to compensate for it. As punishment, the panda suggests training 24 hours a day and not sleeping at night, and John does not understand how he can be so disciplined. The guy agrees to a 24-hour training session. He says that this is not just a training session, but a training session to death. The panda trains diligently while the hero sits on the porch of the house and thinks, holding a reference book in his hands. Although the stamina consumption is approximately the same, the recovery time this time is significantly longer, namely a day. The pet's skill has reached a trained level. It has become significantly more resilient and has better control over what is happening. Now the panda can activate the hardening ability for half a minute. The speed of canceling the skill has also increased. Now the main thing is to increase the speed of using the skill and at the same time learn to harden a specific part of the body. If the panda masters this, then in battle he will have both an offensive weapon and defense. While the animal is training, John thinks that this house and the playground are too fragile and will not withstand such an onslaught. For further hardening training, special equipment is required. The guy believes that the panda is really training hard and the energy consumption in the Beastmaster's space has also increased. Strength determines control over the beast in the master space. This is important for those Beastmasters who raise wild, strong beasts. Volume, or how many pets an overlord can contract with, is an important consideration for overlords who prefer fighting in groups. The environment determines the efficiency of nutrition, growth, and development of combat skills. The better the environment, the faster the pet grows. The hero walks down the street and continues to think about space. The environment is most important to him. John concludes that creating a favorable environment for the panda's growth and development is a priority. When absolute sleep appears in the boy's space, the panda will be able to train as much as he wants without putting any strain on his body. Then all he will have to do is eat well. The hero continues on his way, worried that he won't have enough money to buy food for the panda. He is sure that it is worth it for his little panda to grow and develop. John sits on the floor and conjures, holding a glass in his hands. The transformation of space is almost complete. Once the transformation is complete, the panda will live in the updated house. The pet is still as productive and disciplined as always. Tomorrow, John plans to practice the intensity of hardening. The next day in the morning, someone knocks on the door of the house, and the main character runs to the door. It turned out that a courier had arrived, bringing steel plates. The guy sees off the couriers and loaders, waving his hand to them. John calls upon the panda to test the new steel plates. John feels something strange. This never happened before when he summoned his pet. A panda appears before him with a red scarf around his neck. This is the fourth transformation of awakening. The boy smiles and looks happily at his beast. Improving the environment was a good idea. Now she is one step closer to becoming a professional beast master. The main character is happy about what happened and promises to give the panda a nice festive dinner. John tells his pet that he bought new equipment for their training because during it the panda cannot break everything around him that he wants. Suddenly the animal turns around and the guy asks if he wants John to hit him with something heavier. The hero shows the panda the plates he bought and says that now the panda can hit them as much as he wants because he does not allow the yard to be destroyed. The guy explains that the pet can put these plates in several layers if he thinks that the training is not effective enough. John also says that the planet can also help with gravity so the panda can jump from the tree. The protagonist points to the roof of the house and says that it could be an alternative to wood. The guy punches his palm and tells the panda to use the hardened skill and jump. John calls it drop training. It's more effective than hitting the panda with a club. When the animal can jump from the heights of the clouds and remain unharmed, then it will be equal. The pet hugs his owner's leg and says that John is a genius because the panda himself could never have thought of this. The green silkworm sits quietly and eats leaves in its cage. Suddenly something really scares him and there can no longer be any food in his thoughts. The panda flies at great speed towards the metal plate, hitting them with his hand with a loud bang and incredible force. The slab breaks in half, and the beast stands there as if nothing had happened, very pleased with himself. At some point, the panda notices a scratch on his paw. This should not have happened. The animal uses the speed healing skill, and now everything is back to normal. Panda takes another metal plate and continues his training. John sits inside the house and listens to the rumble coming from the yard. The panda's tempering skill has already reached the experienced level. The guy thinks that these platinums are a great help in hardening training. Plus, it's great food for pandas because they can digest iron. The silkworm's skills have also greatly increased, and the strength of its threads can be compared to that of fishing line. The green silkworm is happy with its life. Its improvement has a great future. Thanks to the purchased medications, John actively trained both the panda and the silkworm for 10 days. Each time after using the reference book, the hero feels tired, but as soon as he eats, he feels better. The fatigue is very similar to fatigue after physical activity. The pet has awakened 5 times and can now temper any part of its body at will. The silkworm has reached the trained level and has awakened 4 times. John decided it was time to evaluate the results. The guy runs out of the house and shouts to the panda to finish training, have a good meal after lunch and rest, because they are going to fight for real. Panda bends the part of the slab he broke. He can't believe that the time for a real battle has come. For a pet to grow and develop, certain conditions are necessary, namely nutrition, training, and battles. For John and the Beast, what matters now is not lethal training, but a battle with an opponent of equal strength, with certain rules and in a good place. The boy and the panda will not be able to go to establishments that do not inspire confidence and where animals could be harmed. The guide provides an excellent opportunity for continuous development. To become a professional beastmaster, in addition to general and practical certification, you must also pass a field survival test. Previously, John didn't care much about this, but now he needs experience in this area. The guy decides to take part in a competition organized by the Beastmasters Association. It's better to turn to professionals. The hero enters a huge room, approaches the information desk, and asks for an explanation of how battles work. The girl begins to explain that their arena provides space for battles. You can choose either a specific battle, which implies a battle agreed upon with your opponent. To participate in a random battle, you need to provide basic information, and then the organization will randomly select an opponent. Enemies in random battles are matched to the pet's level. After all this has been said, the girl tells the amount that needs to be paid for the person, which greatly surprises the guy. John is indignant because it is very expensive, and he himself could eat for 3 days on this money. The girl explains that the price includes all service areas and medical expenses, so this is a standard price, and in some places it can be even more expensive. And then she remembers that there are bets. The losing side pays all the costs for using the site, not only for itself, but also for the winner. John is happy about this because if he and the panda win, they won't have to pay anything. The guy quickly chooses the level he needs and places a bet. The hero is confident that even if the opponent is a top-level beast, they will not lose. The girl pushes a piece of paper and a pen towards the guy and asks him to fill out a form. John, maddened by the desire to make as much money as possible, asks if there is any possibility of making more bets in order to take advantage of all the opportunities. The girl replies that this is not within the scope of their organization's activities. She hands the hero a piece of paper with a number and asks him to wait in the hall. As soon as the enemy is picked up, John's name will appear on the screen. The hero steps aside. Next to him stood a blue-haired guy, also signing a form to participate in the battle. This guy steps aside with his ice crocodile. They are carrying a lot of boxes in their hands. He believes that his classmates are too weak to have any doubt about the outcome of the battle. The guy says that he is the best and will never lose. After some time, John is called to battle site number 11. The blue-haired guy is also called to the site under the same number. John approaches the desired site. It seems to him that it will be a home game. He stands at the entrance, thinking that the pet number is the same as the site number, so the game should be simple. A blue-haired guy appears behind the main character, heading to battle. They exchange glances, and each of them wonders in their own mind if he is my rival. The site is ready. The stands are full of people. Everyone is waiting for the battle to begin. A man in a yellow cap comes out onto the stage and announces that he is the manager and judge for this fight. 2 guys stand opposite each other, looking at their opponent with disbelief, when the referee says that they have no more than an hour to fight. The guy in the yellow cap announces that the opponents can start fighting at any time. The opponents are ready to start the battle right now. John begins to cast a spell. He is confident in his actions and does not want to lose. The protagonist summons his Beastmaster space, and a circle with an image of a panda lights up near his hand. After this, a spinning ball appears with John's pet inside it. The panda appears in front of the guy and stands there, completely confident that he will not lose. The other guy also activates his spell, crossing his arms in front of him. He summons his Beastmaster space, and a circle with an image of an ice crocodile lights up behind him. A block of ice appears out of nowhere, containing the blue-haired boy's pet. An ice-armored beast appears before him, just like the panda, ready to fight. People in the hall are watching the action on the battlefield, pointing at screens and saying that this is another rookie fight. A girl from the crowd tells her friend to look at the screen. There will be a fight there now. A lady in a suit similar to the one the blue-haired guy is wearing recognizes him as Edward. She says that this is her classmate, and he is incredibly strong. Her friend asks, who is stronger of the two? The Beast Mistress says that it is difficult to compare, but in the entire class there are only a couple of people who could compete with him. The girl next to her points out that John also has a panda animal, like her. Edward's classmate, based on her experience raising a panda, bets that the protagonist will lose. She chose the panda only because they are cute. If she had the opportunity to choose another animal, she would definitely agree, because this animal is incredibly lazy and it is impossible to force it to exercise. The blue-haired guy shouts the name of the technique to his pet so that he does what he trained before the fight. The ice-armored crocodile immediately rushes forward, attacking the panda. The judge watches everything that is happening and says that the start is good, the pet is well-trained, and this is worthy of a student of a leading school. John puts his hand forward and shouts a command for the animal to follow. Panda uses a hardening ability, blocking the area in front of him. Icy claws cut into the panda's iron-hard paws. The ice-armored crocodile's claws break on the panda's iron armor, and the crocodile flies back and falls, screaming and crying in pain. The panda stands in a victorious pose. He is happy with his first small victory, pleased with himself. Edward is shocked by what is happening. He does not understand how the ice claw could not withstand it. John stands there full of confidence, shouting at the panda to attack his opponent. The panda immediately jumps from its place and flies towards the ice-armored beast. Edward panics and yells at his pet to use his ice armor quickly. The ice-armored beast immediately uses its skill to quickly defend itself from the panda's attack. The iron hand of John's beast slams into the ice armor, striking hard with incredible force. The ice beast's armor shatters into small pieces, and the crocodile is horrified by this. Edward's animal flies aside under the onslaught of the imperturbable panda. An ice-armored crocodile flies into a wall. Its owner stands in shock at what is happening. Edward doesn't understand how this could happen, how his pet could lose. John is happy with the victory, and thinks that if he had known that the panda would perform so well, he would not have fed him to boost his fighting spirit. He didn't expect the battle to end so quickly. To truly assess the fighting force, he needed to find a more capable opponent. The judge doesn't believe in the panda's strength and hardening skill, as it's only a small level 5 animal. The girl watching the fight from the sidelines also can't believe her eyes. It turns out pandas are capable of mastering the skill at such a high level. A classmate thinks that John is very talented. She doubts that he is a newbie. She hopes that her classmate will be able to bear the defeat with dignity. Edward is deeply distressed by the loss and now thinks that his place is at school. The panda happily waves his hand to everyone and smiles, and says to himself that no one present got up at 4 a.m. to beat steel plates. The judge waves his hand and announces that the ice beast is no longer capable of fighting, so John is declared the winner. The hero sends his pet into the space of the Beastmasters. Edward asks the winner if he is a student at the school, to make sure that his opponent was just lucky. John replies that he graduated from university and did an internship at an animal breeding facility. The level of education in the suburbs where the protagonist studied is not as high as in the city, but nevertheless John defeats him, and Edward cannot understand this. The blue-haired boy thinks that his opponent is the most outstanding Beastmaster he has ever seen, so he needs to try his best. Edward doesn't understand why John has already graduated, since there's still a whole month left before his graduation. The judge tells him that these conditions are for graduates of combat specialties. For everyone else it happens earlier. At this moment, the guy realizes that his opponent is not even a graduate of a combat specialty. The judge asks whether his pet needs medical attention and asks for double the fee for the loss. John is arguing with the girl at the reception. He wants to choose an opponent of a higher level. The girl explains that not everyone wants to fight an opponent of a lower level. She offers to provide an arena if the hero has a friend who is willing to fight him. Jonah has no friends at all, let alone anyone who would want to fight him. He says that he will go to the association and says goodbye to the girl at the reception. The Beastmaster Association can assign tasks and pay for them, carefully selecting tasks for trainees, which are aimed at earning experience. Money is not a priority for John now. The main thing is to find a suitable opponent for training. If you can't find one, you can look for other buildings that are suitable for training. Considering the panda's condition, the space for improving skills cannot be limited to just the house. The main character thinks that if you do the same thing every day, you can go crazy. After the battle, it was clear how happy the pet was, so his owner just needs to find new training for him. John finds a mission to catch stray cats. They created a large thieving group. If we take into account that supernatural beings have intelligence, then the groups are quite real, but it is not clear what they steal. The guy understands that this task is not suitable for his pet, so he continues the search. There are a lot of tasks, but none of them are suitable for the panda. All missions are posted by people who want to hire Beastmasters for a low price for some unnecessary work. John thinks the locust catching mission is a good fit, as there's no time limit on the mission, so they probably need constant supplies. But when faced with a fast and agile opponent, the panda's speed may not be enough, in which case the owner should teach him the skill of supervision. The Iron Eater's immense strength combined with supervision will be a huge plus, and combat effectiveness should increase. John finds a mission to catch mice, but its combat power is very small, so even a human can handle it. The main problem is that they reproduce, move, and group together quickly, making it difficult to determine how dangerous they are. This is also a long-term mission, issued by several Beastmasters at once, and can be used to train reflexes. The panda's speed should increase, but John decides to postpone the hardening training for now. Unexpectedly, he notices Edward, with whom he had recently fought. The hero waves to him happily and asks if his ice beast has recovered. The guy is very worried and tells John that everything is fine, to which he asks if Edward also came to this place for errands. The blue-haired guy confirms the hero's guess, asking about what task John took, suggesting that most likely it was some kind of high-paying task. John shows his task, and Edward is very surprised by this and asks if the hero is going alone. The blue-haired guy explains that for this mission it would be more practical to form a team because these animals are very cunning, so it will be much easier to work in a team. Edward very persistently offers to join John's team. The protagonist tries to get out of it, saying that it makes no difference if he joins, but the blue-haired guy finds a way out of this situation and offers to call 2 more people for this mission. John agrees to help the enemy he defeated because if the rats unite, then this task will not be easy for him. Edward says he will contact 2 of his classmates this evening, and then they will have a team of 4. It turns out that the blue-haired guy wants to get closer to John in order to learn more about his training and understand how he managed to turn a lazy panda into a real fighter. The main character comes to the energy drink store again. The saleswoman thinks that this guy has come for the 3rd time in 2 weeks. John says that training and fighting are increasing, and he has had poor health since childhood. The salesgirl places on the table the supplements that the guy usually buys. John and the panda are eating with pleasure. The boy is eating the food he prepared, and his pet is eating sweet bamboo. Suddenly the boy turns around and asks the animal to come closer. He wants to teach him a new skill. Panda is upset about this because he believes that strength depends only on his efforts. For some reason, he cannot utter a word. The boy teaches the panda the skill of ultravision. The acuity of the eye will increase several times, and he will be able to see even at night. The panda will be able to activate it by spending spiritual power. The beast rubs his eyes with a smile on his face, and John is very tired from training the panda. The panda curiously leaves the house to test out his new skill. The animal sees everything very clearly in the dark, just as it does during the day, which makes it very happy. Now it will be much more convenient for the panda to train at night, and he will be able to compensate for the lack of diligence in training during the day. It now takes 48 hours to restore his spiritual strength. John hopes that his pet won't break a steel tile tonight, because he needs a good night's sleep. Edward sits in his room and drinks tea while writing in the group chat with an offer to go catch mice with him. Suddenly, a classmate of his writes to the boy saying that she saw him recently at the arena where he lost. Edward spits out his tea in surprise. The blue-haired boy is very worried about the fact that now all his classmates will find out about his loss to the first person he meets. When they meet, Edward asks the protagonist if he got enough sleep as he saw that he was yawning. John asks where his friends are, to which the blue-haired guy says that they will probably arrive soon. Suddenly, Edward's classmate and her friend appear in front of them and greet the boys. The guy introduces the girls. This is Kate, his classmate. And this is her friend, the beastmaster of their experimental school, Mary. John smiles at the girls, waves his hand, and says hello. The girls greet him in chorus and call him an expert, and he, in turn, does not understand why they called him that. The blue-haired guy whispers into John's ear and explains that yesterday they passed by the arena and saw their battle. Edward asks everyone to introduce themselves and goes first. His pet, a level 6 ice-armored beast. It can make a roar that splits ice and has ice armor. Kate continues. Her pet is a level 6 panda who has the elementary level hardening skill. Mary also talks about herself. Her pet is a 6th level thorn beast. It has excellent binding skills. And finally, John talks about himself. His pet, a level 5 panda, has the skill of hardening at a deeply studied level. All three boys strongly doubt the sincerity of the protagonist's words. John just smiles and thinks that once they see what the 11th is capable of, then everyone will immediately understand. Edward asks the protagonist what specialty he studied for, since he has already graduated. John explains that he specializes in cultivation because fighting is for brutes, and not everyone can master such a skill. And for a beastmaster who specializes in cultivation, it is quite expected to master the hardening skill at such a level. Upon reaching their destination, the boys are met by a crowd of people waving and welcoming them to the village's rodent extermination mission. One person from the crowd hands out specialized clothing to 4 graduates. The boys change their clothes and then find themselves in the middle of the field, not knowing where to start. John suggests summoning pets, while also thinking that the ultravision skill would be useful in such an environment. Mary and Edward summon their pets, namely the ice shell beast and the thorn beast. John and Kate also summon their animals, more precisely 2 pandas. Panda Kate is several times larger than the 11th. She looks at him with interest. Kate asks the protagonist if he also uses steel bamboo as the basis for his panda's food, because his panda looks great, and both its coloring and body show that it is absolutely healthy. The pink-haired girl explains that there is a bamboo martial arts palace where beastmasters who deal with pandas are trained. The palace's manager is a beastmaster of the highest level, and his panda also has the power of lightning and flame. Kate says she considered John a student of this center because his panda had reached a high level of hardening, which is achieved by few. The pink-haired girl Panda falls asleep while the boys talk about the owner of the panda breeding center. The 11th one interrupts the boys, shouting that he found a mouse. John and his pet point to the exact location of the target in sync. Edward looks in that direction with the help of a special device and says that judging by its size, the mouse is on the 4th level, and it is also completely alone, so it must be destroyed before it discovers the guys and escapes. Mary says that mice are very alert, so if other pets come close to the mouse, she will see them, so she tells her animal to come closer to the target. Maybe he will be able to wrap himself around her body. The thorn beast goes to the mouse, which immediately stops eating and turns its attention to him. Mary's pet tries to catch the target, but it does not give in and tries with all its might to escape from the beast's clutches. An ice-armored crocodile stands in the mouse's way, blocking its path. The red rat jumps high and flies over the ice crocodile, continuing its escape. Further on her path, she encounters something new, which frightens her greatly. It turns out that it's John's panda, and he uses his hardening skill and stomps the poor mouse into the ground with all his might. At this moment, Mary's pet grabs the rat so that it can't escape anywhere. The children admire the panda's strength and compare its power to that of a tall structure. The graduates bring a rat to the main person at this event, who in response asks to catch a pack of rats. Since they managed to catch one, Mary praises John because if it weren't for him, the target would have definitely escaped. John suggests that the boys split up because he needs to catch as many mice as possible to earn money. Edward agrees, as this will allow them to increase the speed of extermination of rats, and they agree to meet at noon at the same place. The blue-haired guy clarifies that if someone encounters one mouse, then they can deal with it in any way they want, but if there is a flock, then the guys will call the rest, because it is more efficient to work that way. Mary challenges her friend to catch more mice than the others, but Kate replies that her panda probably won't be able to catch that many mice. The pink-haired girl thinks that Jonah's panda and her pet are completely different animals. The protagonist tells his animal that their goal is to catch 20 mice before lunch, but the panda is very self-confident and wants to catch 200. John says that he doesn't care how many they catch. The main thing is that the 11th one doesn't spoil the crops and fruit trees. If a panda breaks something, not only will they not be paid, but they will be forced to pay compensation, and then they will have to cut back on the animal's food costs. John asks not to use the hardening panda because the main thing today is to practice speed and reactions. 11th immediately gets to work, quickly collecting mouse after mouse. The main man in the area is amazed by such abilities. He can't even believe that it's really a panda. The panda is indignant that her owner did not teach her the skill of invisibility, otherwise he would have been able to catch mice much faster. The man who is writing down how many rats he caught was the 11th and asks to catch them more slowly, as he doesn't have time to write them down. A lot of people are appearing around John, 2 hours have passed, and the panda does not stop working. The guy reassures people that his animal, in addition to eating, also likes to practice. Edward sees that John's panda catches one mouse every 5 minutes and doesn't understand how the guy has so much strength. Let his panda not get tired. The hero shows the blue-haired guy a tonic capsule, thereby explaining everything. Edward realized that although others had better abilities, no one was as dedicated to the task as John, and that was why everyone lost to him. The main character asks the boys how many mice they caught. Edward caught 7, Mary 6. Kate looks at the others with disappointment and complains about her pet, calling pandas stupid. 11th doesn't like that she lumps all pandas together. A man collecting mice praises the panda. He has never seen such a useful pet. He caught 22 mice in 2 hours. John takes out the long-awaited food and invites the guys to eat together. The graduates sit down to eat while the panda continues to circle around and catch mice. While John is wolfing down his food, Kate tells him that pandas are not that active and that it is not normal. She spent a long time choosing an animal for herself, but did not find one as energetic as John's. Without poking his nose out of the plate, the hero asks the girl how else the panda could master the skill of hardening at a deeply studied level. The boys took a break from their food and agreed with John. They thought it was reasonable. The main character tells the guys how things really are, when suddenly Edward jumps up and shouts that now he too will work with his pet with greater persistence. Mary agrees with him. She says that tomorrow she will go to the pharmacy, buy a tonic, and will work with her animal day and night. Edward has learned the secret of John's training and now he will try it on himself. He is confident that he will succeed. The blue-haired guy asks the protagonist if he will participate in the certification of Beastmasters, and since his specialty is cultivation, will he take the exam to become a cultivation mentor. John says that despite his cultivation specialty, he wants to take the warrior specialty. Edward believes that in order to pass the certification, pets must have unprecedented fighting abilities. It will be very difficult for their pets to reach level 10 in 6 months, so it is better to participate another time. John says that if he doesn't pass the test this time, they could go together next time. The guys are surprised by what he said, because it's unlikely that he will be able to reach the required level in 6 months. John doesn't care how much difficulty they have to face to reach the level of superiority, but reaching the 10th level will not be a problem. If the protagonist fails to reach the required level, he will be able to take a detour. Guys, I'm asking if John is talking about that special certification where you can skip levels. Edward thinks that the protagonist thinks much further than he does, so he definitely lost. He needs to increase the intensity of training for his pet. At some point, all four hear some strange sound. Suddenly, the loudspeaker starts shouting about the approach of wild animals. People run away in terror wherever their eyes look. The number of wild animals behind the wall increases. Edward and Mary are shocked by what is happening. They did not expect that this could happen. The mouse inspector reports that the situation is very dangerous and asks the boys to return home as soon as possible. Edward asks what this signal actually means. The man is not sure since this is the first time he has encountered this. Perhaps the animals from the snowy mountains are unhappy again, but the signal is very serious. John tries to assess the situation soberly from the outside, thinking that it is not time to panic because a large wall has been built around the villages. There are people from the Beastmasters Association working in the city district. They are their main protection. Perhaps there is no real danger. And if the animals really could break through the wall, then there would clearly be something more serious than such a warning. Edward offers to go and have a look, but Kate refuses in every possible way because her pet is too weak to fight. John says it would be best to leave. They can come here again to catch rodents. It is more important to go to the association and find out what this signal means. The man at the reception desk replies that he doesn't really know about this signal, but this isn't the first time in the last month. There were 2 blue warnings before, and now it's yellow. Another person appears out of nowhere and greets Kate and Edward. It is their teacher, Daniel. It turns out that he was nearby, saw the guys' correspondence in the chat, and decided to come and take a look. John watches everything from the outside and does not understand why these two are communicating in a chat where there is a teacher. Daniel asks who the other guys are. Edward replies that they are his friends from other schools. The teacher asks whether the children's confusion is related to the warning, and they ask him to tell them more about it. As he and the boys head out, John thinks that it's not safe to stay in the suburbs and that he needs to go into the city with his pet. The boys and Daniel go outside, and he begins his story about the alarm. The area around the snowy mountains is well guarded. If danger does appear, the association will react quickly. If there are insufficient forces, they will call the district beast masters. And if these forces are not enough, visitors from neighboring cities will join in. Edward worries that the animals might turn against people again, but Daniel reassures him that it is just a small pack of wild animals. John intervenes in the conversation and says that the urban area is better suited for animals, so they come here because of the competition and fight for food. This may not be the main reason, but animal obsessions are repeated repeatedly and are not as unexpected as they were 10 years ago. Daniel agrees with the protagonist, but the reason is still unknown. What caused the animals to conflict is an unsolved mystery. The teacher says that the answer might be in the Ice City and asks the children if they know the story about it. The boys are eagerly awaiting Daniel's story about the Ice City. Daniel says that one day an ice dragon came and froze all the mountains. The guys ask him who won, and he says that most likely it was the tribe living in these mountains. There are remains of an ice dragon on the mountain, and it is said that its bones are sealed inside. Perhaps that sealed dragon has turned into a spirit, and it is he who is calling the door on the snowy mountain. The boys are very scared when they hear about the existence of the dragon. This is what archaeologists managed to find. Perhaps the stone giant was a totem of that people. John suggests that the ancient lords used it to fight the dragon. Someone tells the main character that everything was wrong. The guy is scared and doesn't understand whose voice it is. It seems to John that this is the voice of the stone statue near which the boys were standing just now. The guy is worried that he has gone crazy because the statue cannot speak. John is pulled out of his thoughts by Mary, who is worried about him. He tries to hide the truth by saying that the statue is very beautiful and that is why he was staring at it. Apparently the guys didn't hear the same thing that John heard. He plunges into his thoughts again. The guy understands that the voice definitely cannot come from the statue because it does not look like a living creature. John worries that the statue might have acquired a spirit and imagines himself running away from it. Daniel tells the guys that he still has things to do and it's time for him to go. The teacher leaves, asking the graduates not to worry, because in case of danger, the beast masters will be able to protect everyone. Edward invites the boys to continue catching mice, but John refuses. The main character also has some business. He needs to go. One of the guys offers them a snack, but John quickly leaves them. Edward realizes that he didn't get contact information from his new friend and won't be able to contact him in any way. Arriving home, John begins to study books. The history of the world is divided into eras of myths, totems, and beast lords. In the age of myths, according to legends, mythical creatures appeared that ruled this world. During the era of totems, people appeared. They tried to survive in territories owned by more powerful creatures. In the age of the overlords, people began to domesticate animals. John downloads information about the overlords' union onto his computer. The history of the world of animal masters is divided into 3 stages, but there are many gaps in it. John was very tired from searching for the information he needed. Unfortunately, he was still unable to find what he needed. In a past life, the hero was an archaeologist, but for some reason, he stumbled upon a mythological system, and from then on, he began studying mythology. Then studying the mythical system with his teacher became a daily routine for him. He immersed himself in research, but the mountain range collapsed and buried him alive. After an accident, John was placed into this body. The guy is disappointed by this and regrets that he didn't do something else because curiosity destroys people. Now the hero finds himself in a dangerous world. His only desire is to find himself in a comfortable and safe place. John decides that from now on he will live only for his own pleasure. Although there is much that is unclear in the history of this world, it has its own system and will no longer return to the old path. At night, John returns to the statue wanting to find out what is really going on. The hero whispers to him whether she spoke to him this afternoon. The guy asks whether he refuted what the man said. The statue remains silent and does not respond. John threatens it with his departure. The hero doesn't know what the story really was, and this greatly increases his interest. John really wants to know what the real story was. The guy yells at the statue, asking it to tell him if he can find out the truth. Suddenly, the statue's eyes begin to glow. The ground around it shakes, and John doesn't understand what's happening. The face of the sculpture cracks, and rays of light pour out from the cracks. John looks towards the statue in horror. Something has happened. The sculpture broke into small pieces, dust and crumbs flew in all directions, and a bright purple beam of light came out from the center of the structure. John is deeply troubled by what he has done, as he came to the statue primarily out of curiosity. The guy runs away from the crime scene in fear. People are panicking. They think that animals have attacked the city. They don't understand why there is no news. People passing by are trying not to get worked up. Perhaps this is just social unrest. The secretary comes into the chairman's office and asks what exactly happened. She says that other regions also sensed something was wrong. The chairman himself doesn't really know. If everything is as he thinks, then there's nothing to worry about. John fearfully feeds his panda so that he grows up faster, becomes stronger, and protects them both. It seems that the 11th one doesn't mind at all because he really loves to eat. The protagonist regrets destroying the statue and decides to stay home until he finds out what happened. John feeds not only the panda but also his second pet, the silkworm. The next day, the boy instructs his little insect to train with the panda. Silkworm threads can be used as arrows, but so far it cannot even pierce clothing. Panda and John's little pet train together. 11 practices speed, and Silkworm tries to shoot arrows. The main character supports his animals, and during their training, he goes off to get food. People are worried about the noise that happened at night. No one knows what it was. The Association of Rulers is closed today. John hopes that no one will look into the matter of the destroyed statue, and that he will not be found. The chances are slim since they don't install cameras in this world, and there was no one near him at that moment. John decides that until he finds out what's going on, he won't go anywhere and confess. The safest way is to pretend to be a fool. The beam of light it activates is a secret ancient space. Suddenly, a man says that he has already tried to solve the mystery of the ice dragon's remains, but nothing worked. There is still too little information. They cannot find out the truth. Perhaps here they will learn something new. A gray-haired man informs an inquiring person that a stone statue has been destroyed in the garden of the Beastmasters Association. It seems that this space did not appear out of nowhere. Someone disturbed the scar of history. The girl doesn't understand. Perhaps some gifted person has appeared again who heard the voice of history. She doesn't know who it is. After 4 days, the panda had experienced healing. Ultravision and hardening had also reached a new level. John really wants to see if the 11th soldier can defeat the enemy while being at the 5th level of awakening. The protagonist decides to continue improving his animals, and while heading to a tonic drink store, the male salesman tells him that yesterday a student bought several boxes of the tonic at a pharmacy in the south of the city. The guy is very surprised by this news and suggests that perhaps Edward made this purchase. Suddenly, John decides to find out some important information for himself. He pretends not to be involved in what happened and asks why the Beastmasters Association closed down and whether they found out the reason for that strange roar. The seller praises the guy. He doesn't know the details yet, but he can say that it's very possible that their city will blow up. John raises an eyebrow and looks at the man in confusion, asking for more details. The man says that there are rumors about the appearance of a secret space. He explains that it is something like another space that exists outside of their world. Their planet of the Beastmasters was also originally a secret space. There is a theory that when all the Beastmasters die, they too will turn into a secret space. But after the death of several powerful masters, their space can still be preserved, and something like a small world is formed from the master's consciousness. The space was formed from the consciousness of the ancient ruler, but compared to them, their minimum level was legendary. If the secret space has indeed opened, then it contains a lot of rare resources and pets, and with its appearance there is an opportunity to reap great benefits. It seems that there is nothing wrong with the fact that the stone statue has fallen apart, and the protagonist asks many questions about the mystery of this world. John believes that he should not approach this space and explore it, because it could be very dangerous. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. A man stands on the threshold and says that public assistance has arrived. Since no one answers their knock, they decide to knock down the door, which frightens the guy, and he yells at them not to do it. He is very worried that people found out that he destroyed the stone giant. Opening the door, John discovers behind it a girl who was recently at the secret space and asking questions. She called her pet in the form of a lion. The girl introduces herself, saying that her name is Louise. She is a doctor of archaeology at the capital's university, a member of the Association of Archaeological Research. She came to find out some information from the main character. He invites the girl inside the house, also introducing himself, saying that he does not work anywhere and wants to become a master of beasts. Louise enters the backyard, looking around at the situation around her. The panda and the silkworm are hiding behind a pot outside, looking around fearfully at the guest. She asks John if he had anything to do with the destruction of the statue at the Overlord's Association, and if he heard a voice coming from it. The 11th one looks angrily at the lion-shaped pet, who smiles sweetly. Louise says that the statue is not alive, but the main character has the gift of telepathy. It can happen not only to living beings. Some non-living creatures that come into contact with feelings can gain a soul, which can only be heard by those with telepathy. Hearing voices is a very rare gift throughout history. During destruction, many facts are lost, but people with telepathy can help restore these facts. The remaining traces of history possess supernatural powers and are very difficult to destroy. People who reflect telepathy find it much easier to find a way to overcome this protection. The guy touched the soul of the statue and provoked the appearance of traces of antiquity. Perhaps this trace contains information about the ice spring. Since the main character has a gift, Louise considers him a natural-born archaeologist and invites him somewhere. John is furious because in his past life he was also an archaeologist who paid for his curiosity. The main character's place would be to raise a panda, earn money, meet true love, get a cat, and then move to a quiet city where he will live peacefully. He tells the girl that he is not interested in archaeology and that he does not intend to join any association and does not want to work at the university. During the dialogue, the silkworm, panda, and lion became great friends. They played with each other and communicated verbally. The girl asks him not to rush and not to jump to conclusions. There are only 11 people in the entire country with his talent. Louise kneels down to watch the animals. The boy reflects on the fact that people with telepathy are even rarer than legendary-level overlords and totem-level creatures. He assumes that if he is so rare, then the team must treat the guy well, and ultimately John agrees to accept the agreement. The guy still decides to ask where he is being invited. Under what conditions, Louise answers that if he becomes an overlord at the legendary level, he will not find such good conditions. John is very happy about this news because perhaps the legendary level lords will be his bodyguards. It seems that this will be to his advantage. An archaeologist who died in a past life achieves success in a new one. The main character will be a member of a very cool group. There won't be any obligations at work because there's a very simple structure. Everyone has a lot of freedom of action. They can make decisions independently. There's no pressure. The protagonist is delighted by the fact that he will be able to make decisions independently and will not have to travel to dangerous places and risk his life, which means he will be able to use any resources, materials, and security. This is the Bureau for the Study of Historical Monuments of the State and Their Protection. According to the numbering, it is called the 11th Bureau. This group includes special people in the field of archaeological research. It is engaged in special research of ancient monuments. John notices the fact that he keeps seeing the number 11 everywhere, and in the end, despite all his doubts, he agrees to the job. Louise is also a member of the group, which, considering these two, consists of 11 people. The girl congratulates the main character, saying that from this day on, he is a reserve member of the Bureau. She explains that to become an official member of the group, one must pass a certification. Besides, the guy is still too weak. The group can provide 10,000 for initial expenses. The main task is to reach the level of a specialist as soon as possible and gain some knowledge about archaeological research. The main character is ready to do anything to get money. It is more important to him than personal security. All the animals are smiling happily. With this amount of money, John will definitely be able to feed his pets. Tomorrow he will receive his ID and money, but unless absolutely necessary, the girl advises against disclosing the information that the guy is a member of the 11th Bureau, otherwise foreign intelligence agents might find out. Louise says that when the protagonist becomes an official member of the Bureau, she will be the contact person between him and the group. Suddenly, John realizes that many will probably want to eliminate those who can unravel the secrets of the historical trace, and he is still so weak. The girl says that the assignment for certification is to find out the truth about the history of the city. There is no time limit. As soon as the guy finishes, he will immediately become a member of the group. Even someone who can hear the voice of history cannot hear everything. Some kind of push is definitely needed. This task is perfect for John. Overjoyed, the protagonist asks if he will be able to make contact with that secret space. Even if he doesn't take advantage of his Bureau member privileges, he will still be able to enter the secret space. Louise offers him one of the techniques as a gift, either for the silkworm or for the panda. She wonders if the 11th is his first pet. He probably has no contact with the silkworm, and it is listed as a wild animal, despite its excellent development. The girl activates a cheat for her skills, and the main character is very happy about this, because despite the money, he also gets a gift. John looks at his pet, trying to get his approval, thinking about whether it is good to accept so many gifts, because without effort there is no reward. He's thinking about who would be best to give the new skill to. He doesn't want to let the silkworm go, but apparently this is the best option now. If the insect can become stronger, it will continue to be useful. The guy would really like to have an animal of high origin. Just in case, John clarifies whether it is possible to choose both options, since it is difficult for him to make the right decision. He explains that he wants to become strong and be of use to archaeologists, and Louise thinks that she didn't expect such impudence on his part, but still agrees, writing it off as an advance payment. For now, he can only make a contract with one pet, but when he becomes a basic level overlord, he will be able to have 2 contracts, but to make a contract with a highborn pet, even this will not be enough, and he will not be able to support the rapid growth of such a pet. John agrees because now he won't be able to handle another pet. The girl promises to recommend him to the bamboo and stone yard to find the right skill for the panda. Everything turns out as the protagonist expected. He has a mentor. A rational curriculum is much better than copying. Louise asks if the guy is going to make a contract with the silkworm when it becomes a crystal butterfly, but he replies that green silkworms are simply one of the strongest and most flexible pets, so he couldn't resist and decided to try raising it. It has already been established that these insects can evolve into many different species. Silkworms can completely change, and there are different approaches to raising them for this. They can become moths or butterflies. Several dozen species are already known. Almost all scientists studying the development of pets take silkworms as their first research subject, and the reason is that the development time. The silkworm's lifespan is quite short, and what emerges from the cocoon is a lottery ticket. Louise says she knows 3 ways to develop a commander's level. The guy can choose from them. When this silkworm grows up, his powers can surpass even the powers of your panda. It is very convenient if he is your second pet. The methods are divided into the level of low, middle, and high-ranking commanders. The development conditions also vary in difficulty. First, this is a low-ranking, commander-level ice sailboat, possessing wind and ice elemental properties. Its most powerful skill is creating a blizzard. Next comes the Butterfly Demon, a mid-rank commander belonging to the element of darkness, strong in curses and surprise attacks, and lastly is the Butterfly Fairy of Light, a high-rank commander possessing the element of light, able to control light and is proficient in magic. In addition to the special raw materials and feed required to grow these species, before the silkworm enters the cocoon stage, its ability to spin threads must be reach the experienced level so you can unlock the silkworm's potential to the fullest. But it is difficult to train a silkworm to such a level. It is not worth forcing it because lifespan and talent have limits. The protagonist wonders what if the silkworm is having a hard time. If you reach the excellent level, then how difficult will it be to move to the ideal level? But if you reach it, then perhaps your potential will be revealed to the full 200%. Louise explains that if the guy manages to find a suitable secret space for its development, then he will spend a huge effort on its training. Then maybe you will bring it to such a level until the silkworm turns into a cocoon, or John can reach the legendary level and then take up the silkworm. Here there is no need to talk about the price-quality ratio. She also says that the quality of the threads does not always increase with increasing level. To destroy the cocoon, the silkworm needs to awaken a new type of skill within itself that will help it cope with this, and in order for it to be able to develop these skills before creating the cocoon, John must provide it with the appropriate raw materials. He thinks that if he trains the insect with the necessary skills, it will be able to break its cocoon. The guy decides that he will use his own approach, not follow the scientific approach. Now he understands those researchers who love to come up with new ways of growing. John believes that he will develop into a light fairy butterfly, but he may not be able to do this. He first needs to study the information about the food. Louise says that due to the choice of rank, the level of difficulty varies, so it is imperative to be well prepared for the silkworm transformation. She gives the protagonist a detailed guide to developing silkworms and asks him to study it thoroughly before getting started. In order to grow a light fairy butterfly, you must have an experience level or higher of thread weaving skill. As bait, you need to use unripe lightheart, ripe sunflower petals, luminescent seed, glowing mushrooms, daylight stone powder, ripe sparkling grass. Following the recipe, you need to mix all the ingredients to create a cocoon. After 30 days, the rainbow light skill will awaken in the cocoon will collapse, and a fairy butterfly of light will emerge from it. Louise encourages her new group member by suggesting that he give it a try. He thinks that all this raw material will cost him a very large sum, so he decides to choose some other way of development. The protagonist gives the manual back to the girl. If his method doesn't work, then he'll have to turn to this one. Louise waves her hand and says goodbye to the guy, saying that he managed to develop his pets well. Although John did not want to return to his previous profession, if he had not been born for it, he would not have heard the statue's voice. He decides not to think about it, since he will have money tomorrow, then today he can spend everything else. Arriving at the store, the protagonist tells the sales assistant about his desire to buy a phone, and then she asks him to tell her more. John explains that he needs a phone with internet access, an energy meter, and a pet reference book. Looking at the new gadget, I think that in appearance it is no different from the phones from my previous world, but there are still differences in functions. When you point the phone at an object, the phone immediately recognizes the mechanical dog. The gadget provides a brief description of the dog's abilities, ranks, elements, and name, and provides brief information. The protagonist admires the animal's functionality, but unfortunately, he will not be able to copy its skills because his pets are not able to use these abilities. The phone can detect not only energy fluctuations, but even the level of development of the mechanical dog. Although becoming a first-class beastmaster is not an easy task, this phone will do half the job. The guy assesses the situation. The gadget is good, but very expensive. If he buys it now, there will be no money left, and if Louise doesn't send money, there will be nothing to feed the 11th. In the end, he breaks down and buys this phone, justifying himself by saying that if the girl gave him the opportunity to develop, then she will also give him money. Leaving the store, John thinks that the 11th one is enough bamboo for another month, although he loves to eat it, but you can buy something better. Arriving at the raw materials store, the protagonist immediately takes out his phone and scans the steel tree. Judging by the name, it should contain metallic minerals. It's like a plant with a filling, perfect for a panda. It belongs to the elements of wood and gold, enhances the panda's ability to harden and gives vitality. This raw material is much more nutritious than steel bamboo. It is usually fed only to pandas of supernatural level, otherwise they can overfeed. But the 11th one spends so much energy that it is unlikely that the protagonist will be able to overfeed him, even though he eats several times more than he should, but also trains very intensively. Arriving home, John lies down on the bed, finishing the registration on his phone. Now he will be able to read the news of the Beastmasters Association. The protagonist thinks that the silkworm still has enough food, so when he was in the store, he did not buy any. Suddenly, he sees a message on his phone inviting him to investigate the ancient trail, but to do so, he must pass a combat skills test. The guy jumps out of bed, shouting that he can't go inside the secret space. Maybe there are only wild animals there and nothing valuable. Perhaps I only use people as cannon fodder, because if they need to pass a combat skills test, then it's definitely dangerous inside. Suddenly, a panda and a silkworm enter the room. They look exhausted and want to eat. John announces that they will have a feast today, so he will head straight to prepare food. While cooking, he thinks about how time passed so quickly with the phone in his hands that it had already gotten dark outside. Having finished cooking, the main character put the dishes on the table and called his pets, who were waiting with drooling lips for dinner to begin. Before they could blink, all three had eaten their meals, and the boy told the animals to eat their fill, as they would soon be going to combat training. When asked if the animals were happy, the panda shows his approval and smiles slyly. John reflects on the fact that all the training they had didn't help them unlock the 11th's potential. Only the demonic lion, Louise's pet, will help the panda in training. The assessment criterion for certification is what kind of beast the Lord managed to defeat, or what valuable materials you managed to collect, so they head there to test their strength. In the morning, Louise arrives with money, a recommendation for skills, and a certificate with which John will be able to investigate most of the traces of antiquity. The girl asks to go to the remains of the ice dragon on the mountain only when the main character reaches the level of a specialist, otherwise he might freeze. She also adds that the guy can request security to explore the snowy mountain, but unfortunately he can't get into the secret space. John asks to tell more about what is in the secret space. Louise begins to tell that the secret space. It used to be the space of the Beastmaster. First of all, this space is very unstable. According to the results of the experiment, only the disciple masters can enter calmly. If the master's level is high, then the space and the trace of antiquity give rise to a reaction of rejection. Of course, people can exploit it by force, but it is very easy to bring the space to destruction, and then there will be more damage than benefit. In the end, the most precious thing is the trace of antiquity itself. And then, this trace of antiquity was a battlefield. Perhaps that ruler changed it, and now it is needed for hardening. The rulers of the new generation of his tribe, after the ruler gets inside, he finds himself in a separate space that no one else can enter. Within that environment, creatures arise, and only by defeating them can one move on to the next separate space. According to the people who came out of there, the main task of the creatures is to defeat the enemy but not kill him, but if the fighter is too weak, then there is a risk. The girl sends a link to a website with products for raising pets. She believes that John will soon become an expert. Louise reminds that the main target now is the secret space, not the ice dragon. Although the protagonist can enter the secret space with his ID, he still decides that it is better to undergo a special assessment to determine whether he can survive in the secret space. He decides that it is not worth the risk since the chance of dying is still present. As she leaves, Louise thinks that as soon as John joins their group, he will definitely become her assistant, and later the master of the beasts. After the girl leaves, the main character is left to rely only on himself. In John's past life, research into antiquity was not highly valued, but in this world it is the key to unraveling totems and magical creatures. Although he again got into archaeology, but after just a few months he was already a member of such a cool group. In his new life, the guy was able to achieve much more. Suddenly the panda starts screaming loudly. The silkworm also comes running to the noise. Apparently it has grown again. Since John started feeding the 11th steel bamboo, he has grown greatly in size and is now in his fastest growing period. He brings his panda another portion of food, offering it to eat with a smile on his face. The main character takes out his new gadget and looks at the animals. They grow faster than regular pets. Their skill development speed also exceeds that of other pets. John is interested in what the certification results will be if he takes these guys with him. Arriving for the certification, he is very surprised by the huge number of people who came. People are talking all around about how they have never seen so many people sign up for certification. The assistant girl informs him of the date and time of arrival at the place, and the main character thanks her. 3 days later, on a clear and sunny day, people of all ages gathered at the site to try themselves out. Suddenly, John turns to the man calling his name and sees a familiar silhouette. It turned out that it was Edward. He looks very tired and exhausted. The guy is scared of him. He is surprised by the circles under his eyes. Apparently, he really has started swallowing tonics like candy. Many students from Edward's school also came to the assessment, as they were promised a reward for passing it. He says that after they left, the statue fell apart, but John knows that it was his doing. The protagonist says that the blue-haired guy should save his strength because he apparently works very hard, but Edward is 100% confident in himself. The teacher let it slip that only a fifth of the students would pass the test. Edward is very worried about the test. He is not sure that he can handle it. If the panda managed to jump above his head, then the ice-shelled one can do it too. Edward asks if this is the first time the protagonist has participated in such an event, and he agrees, since he specializes in growing. The blue-haired guy begins to worry even more because of the information he received. John asks if Mary and Kate have arrived, but unfortunately they are not here. Edward waves at him and runs off to his classmates. The guy notices the people standing next to him. They are either invited rulers or a real army. All army training is paid for by the association. The conditions are not bad. If it weren't for the tough training, then perhaps John could also become part of the army. A man in a special uniform blows a whistle, ordering everyone to calm down. He asks everyone present to sign a safety declaration, and in the meantime, he will tell you all the most important things about the certification. The man's name is Chuck. He is responsible for conducting the certification. Besides him, there are also 4 overlords responsible for security. The Mountain of Heavenly People is home not only to many animals, but also to rare resources. All of them are recorded in the directory, and each species is assigned a special number of points. A device for calling for help will be installed at the entrance. All trophies will be handed over to the special services, who will count the results. The main goal is to score as many points as possible within 3 days. The first 20 people will get the opportunity to enter the secret space. The high-ranking Beastmasters give their comments. They would also like to return as disciples to get to this place. John opens the reference book thinking about the names of the animals listed in it. A python, which is best not to hunt, is worth 4,000 points, which is equivalent to 200 shrews. A python bite can be devastating, but if you practice it to perfection, you might be able to turn it to your advantage. There is also an electric licker on the field. They are very dangerous, and for catching them, you can also earn 4,000 points. The protagonist understands that the animals were brought from other countries. A lot of money was probably invested in this event. Slime has a multiplication skill that allows it to change its body size. John understands that he really needs to get this ability. If this beast is in their country, then he cannot miss such an opportunity. Chuck shouts that the certification will begin in half an hour, and in the meantime, people can go to the nearby stores and stock up on food and tonics. It's good that there is time to buy equipment. The main character can choose everything he needs. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Edward appears, interrupting John's thoughts. He suggests teaming up to catch the python, but the guy isn't sure if it can be done. The blue-haired student says that there are no demands regarding this, but John still refuses. It seems to him that he can achieve greater results alone than with these guys. The certification time has begun. Climb the mountain from 4 entrances. Mechanical birds fly across the sky. They are designed to keep an eye on the animals that are worth 4,000 points, and participants should not approach them. John calls upon the 11th, who is fully prepared for battle. To reach the magnetic iron ore mountain region, one must cross a wild boar flight. On the way they meet a fanged wild boar, which is very aggressive. The panda and the main character are delighted with the discovery as they are going to defeat everyone. The pet immediately prepares for battle, intending to run after its opponent. A mid-rank skill that activates expert-level ultravision. The 11th one quickly jumps, hitting the boar again and again, causing more damage to the beast. After the panda finished off the wild pig, the silkworm wrapped it in a hard cocoon, and they earned 350 points. John thinks that if his blue-haired friend had fought this animal, he would have spent much more time. The boy hands the silk thread to the panda, who admires how his master was able to turn even a fight into training. Those watching the event are greatly amazed by the protagonist's abilities. He is the first to deal with the beast, and he did it so easily. Seeing 4 more wild pigs on the road, the guy offers his pet to deal with them. The guards are shocked because the master's panda at the apprentice level attacked 4 boars at once. Even if the pet was at level 10, it would hardly have been able to win. The wild pigs themselves are shocked that one of the pets decided to attack them. The 11th one teases them. A herd of wild boars is running towards the panda, but the panda is confident of his own victory. He activates the hardening. This is an experience level, and it involves the whole body. The men are shocked by what they see. They can't believe their own eyes. If John is a student, then he cannot have more than 1 pet, which is where the green silkworm came from with them. The guy says that the catch of 5 pigs is quite good. They already have 1,750 points. The panda tells his owner that he is very tired, and he agrees to sit down and rest and gives his pet some delicious food. The main character opens the map, plotting a route and explaining it to the panda. Suddenly a loud cry for help is heard from the forest. Even the birds fly away in different directions. The guy runs towards the scream. Apparently another ruler screamed when he met wild pigs. The boys are running from a herd of 10 pigs, shouting to those who came to help them to quickly hide in the trees and save themselves. They ask John why he doesn't run, but he wonders if the 11th one can handle the pigs, thereby increasing his effectiveness. A panda appears behind the main character, dragging 5 wild pigs behind him. They show the wild boars that it is better not to approach them, because they have killed many of their relatives. The pigs immediately run away from the guy they met. John and these guys came in from the same entrance. Very little time has passed since that moment. The guy explains that they should find a lone pig and surround it, without going deep into the forest. The trophies need to be left somewhere and they need to rest, so the heroes come to a safe place. People all around are amazed at how the guy was able to catch so many pigs on his own. The panda enjoys the attention he receives, so he beams with joy and waves at all the rulers. The participants are seriously injured. There's even a healing pet at this point. The main thing is that people don't die, but can be healed. One of the people watching John comes out to him with a cart, offering to help him record the scores, but the guy asks if he can roast the pigs to eat them. The man says that you have to spend a lot of time cooking the meat, even though it is very tasty. The main character takes first place in the ranking among all those who came for certification. While scanning the captured animals, the guard thinks that in all his training, he has never seen such skills in pandas. He decides to tell his teacher about the guy he met at work. The teacher grins upon hearing a familiar voice. The man left his studies and went to work in the security service. He is shocked by what he heard. Even an experienced panda master has never heard of such a case because it is practically impossible. The teacher recalls that Louise came to him for panda skills. He checks the sources. John received the panda a month ago and has already developed such abilities in it. The man asks if the protagonist is a disciple of the bamboo and stone palace. The teacher suggests sending the boy to a mountain with more dangerous animals. Perhaps he will become a student of this palace. A man approaches the hero, inviting him to go to the mountain. The guy thinks that there's good food for the panda there. The guard explains that he was a student of the bamboo and stone palace, which is where his interest lies. He explains that in order for the panda to control lightning, he needs to eat special food, but John doesn't understand why he's telling him all this. For a pet to master skills beyond its race, special breeding methods are needed, and food is an important component, but electric ore alone is not enough. Otherwise, it would not be the secret of the bamboo and stone palace. The man says that if the protagonist wants to study in his palace, he needs to train in an area with magnetic iron ore. If he feeds the panda ore, it will be continuously hit with electricity, which is the basis for training in lightning control. John had wanted to go to that area anyway, and now he had good reasons to do so. He calls his pet, telling him that he will soon receive a treat. The panda is terribly happy to hear this word. They happily head off to their next workout, and people wonder where they get all that energy from. A guy and his pet walk through the gorgeous scenery of the certification forest, passing a bridge. There was a warning that the magnetic field in this area was having a strong effect on the overlords. Suddenly, the panda notices something off to the side. They discover crystalline ore, which appears to be what they are looking for. The protagonist offers his pet a stone to eat, but he becomes indignant because if he eats it, he will get a stomach ache and this will negatively affect his training. The guy reassures the 11th that in order to eat electric ore, you need the hardening skill at an experienced level. Just by touching these crystals, the panda is struck by a huge electric discharge. The pet, holding a stone in his hands, offers the owner to try it first, who continues to reassure him. He ferociously takes a piece of electric crystals into his mouth. After swallowing the pieces of ore, the 11th suddenly realizes that they can actually be eaten. Having eaten all the crystals, the pet jumps around John, screaming that it wants more. After the panda eats a large amount of electric ore, he will be able to deal with electric discharges and will receive the gift of accumulating electrical energy. If there had been fire or frost here, the panda would have been able to master other elements as well. If the hardening level reaches the ideal level and lightning element skill is added to it, the 11th will become a real electromagnetic cannon. On the way, the heroes encounter an electric scorpion that has absorbed lightning from the ore. He assumes a fighting stance, stands on his hind legs and is about to attack. The 11th one heads towards his rival. He is not the only one who wants to eat the ore on this mountain. The panda grabs the scorpion by one of its legs and begins to spin it in all directions. Those watching him do not understand what is happening. Apparently, the heroes have decided to capture the mountain. This member clearly doesn't care about such measly points. His target is level 10 creatures. This panda is very strong. It is quite unusual. The creatures in the mountainous area are 3 electric liquors brought from abroad. The organizer of the certification is not sure that the children will be able to cope with them, but escaping will not be difficult. Slimes move very smoothly. Anyone who could pass high school standards could easily outrun a slime. But if they do manage to defeat the slime, they will pay a hefty price, because the slime's main skill is an electric strike. Famous for its penetrating ability, its level is 4 levels higher. The organizer orders to continue observation, but suddenly one of the overlords reports that they have already found the electric liquor. As John runs after his own pet, he shouts that it has remembered the smell of electric ore, and now he can look for the rest. Suddenly, they come across an electric slime on their way, which the boys had been looking for so long. They are delighted with the find, although the battle promises to be difficult. The main character orders the panda to grab the enemy and take away all of his electricity. It's like the main boss in the game. If he depletes him, they won't be able to defeat him. The 11th immediately takes off, heading towards his opponent. The creature looks scary. Apparently the panda won't be able to eat it like ore. Those watching the cameras notice that the panda is wearing dielectric gloves, which surprises them greatly. They assume that the guys will defeat the electric slime, but the organizer says that everything is not so simple, and they are simply underestimating the beast. The panda tries to hold back his opponent's attacks. His face shows great fatigue and fear. The beast has become larger. The protagonist commands the pet to use the skill for hardening. 11th tenses his entire body, becoming an iron puppet, and with great effort he pushes the electric liquor to the side. The crippled animal squats down, confidently looking at the defeated enemy. The certification organizer assumes that both competitors will suffer. Although the slime is strong and exhausted, the panda can't stand it either. Suddenly, the pet begins to recover, using its healing skills. Lizen prepares to attack the panda again, but he quickly rushes forward. The protagonist orders him to praise his rival and squeeze him out like a lemon. The panda copes with this difficult task, bringing his catch to the master. Since the panda doesn't need electricity, the boy only copies the multiplication skill. The observers look at the cameras, perplexed as to why, if the main character has not yet defeated the enemy, he is mocking him. The organizer asks if this guy is really a student because he looks quite scary. John thinks there's enough of the ore they need in the area to feed his pet, and they'll take the rest. By developing the power of the lightning element and the healing skill, the panda will be able to quickly recover from electric shocks. Let the 11th use the widow's electricity in their training. The protagonist tells his pet that they will rest in this place at night, eat now, and then try a new training method. The man who suggested the boy go to the mountain thinks that he did not expect such an outcome of events, that the hero would use the slime as a training tool. The next day, the boys caught all 3 creatures. With the dielectric gloves and the skills of the 11th, it was not difficult. You just have to avoid giving them too much food so that their abilities and the level of electricity they produce remain at a relatively low level. They will not be able to attack back, but will generate energy for the pet, like generators. Panda's skill increases to mid-level skill Thunderpalm. John is very surprised by this because his pet has mastered the Thunderpalm skill on his own. The boys run back to the guy who sent them to the mountain to find out more information. The men are very surprised by what they see because only 1 day has passed. It is impossible to awaken the lightning element talent in a panda so quickly. In theory, even if you feed on ore and receive electric charges, you can't easily master this element. Otherwise, there would be many more pandas in the bamboo and stone palace who wield Thunderpalm. Even though he saw the guys training on camera, it was still impossible to achieve such results in such a short time. Not only did the training efficiency increase, but some kind of unusual reaction arose between the two, causing the panda to increase his speed even more. When the electrical energy accumulates to the point of causing a paralytic effect, this is when the power of the Thunderpalm is at its greatest. The protagonist thought that in order for his pet to master this skill, he would have to go to the palace for training, but he was able to master it himself, and this surprised everyone. Apparently, there is some special connection between different skills. After learning one skill, mastering another becomes much easier. John asks the guard to write down their scores for the slime, and the guard asks if the guy will go to the mountain in the magnetic iron ore area again. The guy opens his bag, revealing a huge amount of electric ore. He reports that there are no more resources left for the mountain. The security guard calls his teacher to report the protagonist's progress. He says the boy went to the mountain to train with his pet. The man tells everything in detail, but the teachers think he is just joking. The boy tells his panda that they need to find nutritious food for the silkworm because he has been with them for the past 2 days but has not eaten anything. He helped them a lot, he tried so hard, he needs to be rewarded. The food the protagonist prepared for his second pet will only be needed later, and the rest of the time he should be fed something simple. Only during the transformation stage will the silkworm have the greatest chance of learning new skills. The guy is thinking about how to raise his insect. Perhaps it will become an ice phoenix butterfly, and from the lowest level will rise to the level of the most valuable pet in the state. You can also choose a rare element for it if it suits it, for example, an element of space or an element in time. There is no point in thinking about different development paths now, because the most important things now are skills and food. It is also too early to think about quality food. First, you need to raise the silkworm to the highest level. In this forest, you can find dragon whiskers, a first-level spiritual plant called so because it looks like a dragon. It is the favorite food of pets with the ability to create threads. This herb makes the thread even stronger and sharper. Suddenly, on the way, the boys, following food for their little friend, meet an unknown creature. They stop near the dragon's whiskers, looking at the plant with interest. Suddenly, a huge spider shoots its web towards them. The 11th one gets entangled in the tenacious material, and in panic, he shouts to the master to be careful. The panda is trapped by a fearsome beast that, with a sly smile, draws its victim closer to itself. John orders him to quickly activate the hardening and cut the web with steel wool. Confidence appears in the panda's eyes. He is going to defeat the enemy. The animal abruptly breaks the spider's threads, escaping from the trap. The boy orders the pet to use the gram palm, which is a new skill for him. The 11th immediately carries out the order. Suddenly, one of the spider's legs moves away from the animal in response, causing it to fly off to the side. The panda lands above the ground, leaving a trail of skids behind him. Apparently, he still doesn't have enough strength. The protagonist says that it is necessary to find the right moment and throw the spider away. He gives the necessary instructions to him and sends him further into battle. The wild beast again sprays its web at the enemy, who dodges it. Suddenly, the 11th one grabs a stream of web with his paws. After this, he begins to quickly spin the spider in all directions with it, hitting it hard on the ground. After that, John tells him to use the skills of full hardening and thunder palm. Panda activates the gram palm with both paws and then spins the force from his body, after which he should shoot straight at the opponent. The main characters watch what is happening from the sidelines, happy that the opponent has been defeated. It seems like the 11th level's combat strength is now even higher than that level 10 wild beast. There are probably still plenty of arachnids in the area, so it's best to find out in advance how they might react. The pet, jubilant, raises his hand and smiles widely, enjoying the victory. The guy is still in first place among all the overlords, 4 10th level creatures, 5 boars, and also a huge amount of resources, a total of 2,000 points. Electric birds fly across the sky, conveying important information to the participants. The 3-day certification process has been successfully completed, and security personnel will escort everyone off the mountain in order of priority. The weaker beastmasters are glad that the grading is over, as they are already tired of eating only fruit. Some people rush to wash themselves, while others are upset by the large number of mosquito bites. Only John thinks they worked hard. He will spend part of the winnings on something for himself. For example, he will buy high-quality tonics. People panic, having learned that only 73 out of 100 people made it to the end. They had to stop the certification due to the injuries they received. The certification organizers shout that since people are standing here, it means they are capable of something, because this training zone was created by people. If they didn't cope here, what can we say about the memory of the past? And there's no point in even thinking about participating in the certification for a specialty. It's better to go home and train your protégés. If anyone wants to know their final result, they can see for themselves. All the results are already posted on the wall. The first 20 participants will be allowed to enter the Ancient Trail. A week later, they will be taken to the Ancient Trail for the first time. Details will be announced later. Certification is complete. After people learn the results, they can leave. The overlords looking at the table wonder who John is and why he has so many points. Edward notices a familiar figure in the crowd, paying attention to it, and he recognizes it as his friend. Noticing the attention being paid to him, the main character runs away in an unknown direction, which surprises the blue-haired guy greatly. Edward is surprised that John was able to defeat so many animals. He is upset because he tried so hard for a whole week, but did not get one step closer to his level. Many people ask who the guy in first place is. The guy explains that he is the new overlord who came from the school in the city. On his advice, he bought the light spirit pills for feeding, and the guy is also very cool. The eyes of my friends light up from what they hear, and they also want to buy the light pills. At the end of the assessment, John again meets the same guard from the Bamboo and Stone Palace, helping him exchange points. The man told his mentor that the boy's pet had acquired the Thunder Palm skill. The teacher invites the protagonist to the palace when he has free time. They have special karma, and the mentor also wants to impart knowledge about the Thunder Palm to him. Having heard the necessary information, the guy runs away in an unknown direction. The guard thinks that this guy will definitely be able to learn everything. The guy thinks about the manager of the training palace. Maybe he will teach the guy something else besides the skill he has already learned, because he is one of the most powerful rulers in their city. He probably knows secret techniques. Returning home, the main character takes a hot bath with his pets, rejoicing at his speedy return. Finally, they will be able to eat normal food, enjoying the taste and safety. They will also be able to sleep on a large bed without being crowded on the ground in the forest, which is what they wanted not long ago. The countryside is not at all suitable for living. When the main character has money, he will buy himself a large robot and start controlling it. He wants one like in the famous cartoon, so that it can become an airplane, a car, and even a house. The guy thinks that as usual, they will only be taken away in a week. Maybe he should go when he becomes stronger. On the other hand, it would be better to go now. There's no need to limit yourself. No matter what, first of all, you need to spend all the money you earn. You can use it to buy high-quality feed for the silkworms, and you can also stock up for quite a long time. The protagonist goes to a website to buy tonics. The pills are pure and of much better quality than his pills, which are made from very poor quality raw materials. They are very expensive, but fortunately he has money. The website also offers tablets containing plant sprouts, white queen bee pollen, and dragon frog oil. John doesn't understand why they seem so familiar to him. They probably really do help a lot. The beans are not bad, but you'll have to pay a lot of money for a thing of such low quality. You can buy one and try it. Perhaps thanks to this tool, it will be possible to learn a new high-level skill, either multiplication, or the skill of absolute sleep, or the skill of intimidation. The protagonist spends a lot of money, no longer 10% of his profits, but with the help of expensive tonics, the 11th will be able to learn high-level skills, so it is worth it. Thinking about his expenses, the guy falls asleep peacefully without even noticing it. Suddenly his pet jumps on him, screaming at him to wake up because he really wants to eat. Panda has spent a lot of energy on training. He should be fed now. The silkworms still have energy from training, so he will not feed him today. The next day, John comes out of his house shouting that today he and the 11th will go to the palace of bamboo and stone. Having received the notification, the guy takes out his phone. The goods he ordered the day before yesterday are now on their way. It's very fast. He hears a loud noise. Someone announces that they are ready to land, ordering him to move away. The courier man arrived on a huge eagle holding a huge box in his claws. The men get down from their vehicle, open the box, and take out a smaller package. He says that this is John's order, asking him to sign for it. The courier's a beastmaster. He only became a specialist this year. If he did something wrong, he asks for forgiveness. The protagonist thinks that in this world even the delivery requirements are so high, although the salary is probably quite high, since the goods on that website are of such good quality. The courier wonders why the client needs so many high-quality tonics. At his level, he doesn't need that much, but that's beside the point. Perhaps these products will be useful to him. The man flies higher and higher, carrying his box with him, wishing him all the best. John opens his package of tonics, smiling as he looks at what they brought him. He calls his panda to him, asking him to come closer. With the ability to intimidate, you can also improve your absolute sleep skills. They still have a lot of tonics. They can improve their skills whenever they want. In its enlarged state, the 11th possesses excellent combat power. In its reduced state, its speed and recovery ability increase, so now is the best time to learn this skill. The protagonist begins to teach his pet a new skill. He thinks that he will get it again without effort because he just learned the Thunder Palm skill, but the master wants to make him stronger again. The skill cooldown is now 168 hours. The guy thought the maximum cooldown was 72 hours, but now it's doubled. He decides to eat another bean in order to reduce the skill's cooldown, which is now 48 hours. It seems that learning high-level skills is limited. Until his own strength increases, the guy may not be able to significantly improve his skills even with tonics. Panda is mastering a new ability and feels a surge of strength and energy. To test the success of the training, the main character asks his pet to increase in size. Suddenly, the animal's stomach begins to rumble loudly. Apparently, the increase takes a lot of effort. The guy orders the pet to shrink in size, and it becomes very small. It seems that when exaggerated, his body mass doubles, and when reduced, it becomes half as much, which is the limit now. It's time to eat. If the panda is in a smaller condition, then the guys will be able to save a lot on food. One holy bean can compensate for the period of weakness for 120 hours. If you eat another one, then you can possibly fully recover. Your health will be even better than before. The instructions say that during the period of weakness you can eat large quantities of baba until your strength is fully restored. The effect of the beans will last longer than 48 hours. This is an unnecessary expense, and the instructions do not say whether it is possible to eat half. If you calculate and round up, then the main character could lose several thousand. He thinks about how to save money, whether something can be replaced or removed. The queen bee is clearly not considered a royal-level being. Despite its name, it simply controls the system. This thing appeared thanks to the nectar of various flowers. It has many other names. In the guy's past, it was also used as a tonic. The chewable capsules John bought at the pharmacy restored his body forcibly, only due to the presence of medicinal raw materials in their composition. They do not have the effect of reducing the recovery period for skill learning, so he will no longer go to the pharmacy. Suddenly the guy discovers something else lying in the box. He doesn't understand what it is. Apparently he didn't order anything else. It turns out that there is something wrapped in film with a note on it, which says that someone is eager to see him perform again. It is a new battle suit, a note from a secret admirer. In the palace of bamboo and stone, everyone is training, and the teacher reflects on how he has finally found a student who is capable of fully acquiring all of his knowledge, even mastering the skills of the Thunder Palm in just one day. The man has serious doubts about whether he will be able to teach him. Suddenly, a girl in a panda costume calls out to him. It's his daughter, who sold the panda to John. She suggests to her father that they go out to lunch somewhere, maybe to the Dragon King's palace. The teacher sternly asks the girl if she has finished her training. She passed the certification for the Overlord specialty at 18 and then immediately changed her specialty to cultivation, choosing the research and evolution departments to study the developmental ability of pandas. But in the end, she did not research anything. Her strength declined and there were no results. The teacher remembers that his daughter mentioned John, talking about a very disciplined beastmaster. The girl is happy that he decides to join the palace, but her father refutes this idea, explaining that he simply received orders to help him in his training. He asks if she knows how his panda developed after he left. She doesn't know, but she told them that if they have any questions, they can come to them at any time, but if he didn't come, then everything is fine. The man is very angry at these words. John and his pandas participated in the Mountain Masters competition and won first place. The panda lover is very surprised by this, because that panda only awakened to the 3rd level a month ago. The man doesn't believe it either, but he'll come visit soon, and then they'll all find out if John is even half as good as they say. It will be great. The daughter interrupts her father's thoughts about the imminent arrival of his student, asking if they will go to eat. The man boils over, answering that no, meeting such a talented person is much more important than filling his belly. He needs to find out what is so special about this guy. He needs to get to know him as soon as possible. The girl is surprised by the answer. Apparently, her father will dare to go against her mother, and she is not afraid to return to bed in the evening. She says that she has already told her mother that her father will come. He's dying, asking his colleagues to tell John to come after lunch. He's suddenly very hungry. The protagonist stands near the entrance to the palace, asking if anyone is here. Suddenly, a familiar person opens the door and they meet again. The girl asks to follow her. Her father is waiting inside. The man asks him to sit down, and his daughter's thoughts suggest that John really is not the same as before. The girl can't believe what her father told her at dinner. Where did the guy get such fighting abilities? She cared a lot about his pet, and remembers how strong he was a month ago. Her father said that perhaps John had a great chance. The teacher says that if the protagonist wants to study at the Palace of Bamboo and Stone, he will teach him everything he knows, but in terms of panda development, he won't be able to give him much more. Thunder Palm and Explosive Fist are the most valuable skills the palace gives to the pandas, and although they feed them quite expensive food, it does not compare in value to the books containing the secrets of these skills. John thanks them for this. The man offers him free use of 3 training grounds and all the equipment. Food for his panda is also provided by their palace. The teacher says that if he has any questions, he can ask to see him at any time. There is no need to go through the standard preparation with the other students. The girl is in great shock from what she heard because her dad isn't even that kind to her. The man believes that such talent requires a special approach. The guy is happy to hear this, saying that it suits him because it means free food, housing, and unlimited access to training equipment. He will also be able to consult with a high-level ruler at any time. It turns out that John can use the reward for participating in the certification to buy tonics, and the palace will provide food for the 11th, but he doesn't know whether the palace owners will be able to feed him to his fill. As for the silkworm, there is food for it everywhere outside. The guy did the right thing when he agreed to join this bureau, otherwise he would still be idle. As the teacher understood, his panda had already learned the Thunder Palm skill. Moreover, he had already reached 1 level of the Hardening skill. The panda lover doesn't understand what's going on. Their conversation has long since gone beyond the pale. The first thing a guy with a panda needs to do is train his Thunder Palm skill. It's a little easier than the Explosive Fist skill, but you shouldn't take on too much. If you want to learn Explosive Fist skills, he advises you to first master the Thunder Palm skill. The guy thinks about what was said. Ordinary pandas probably need the Explosive Fist skill, but his panda is already doing just fine. He doesn't need the Fire Element ability. If necessary, the 11th will be able to master this skill later. The teacher suggests going to the training ground so that he can tell him everything in more detail, and before that he will introduce him to the other students. If he studies in their palace, he will need to contact them. The girl thinks that John doesn't deserve such kindness from his dad. If his mom were here to support her, she would have asked him everything. The man says that the security guard at the certification told him about him, but he doesn't fully understand his situation. He would like to see the guy on the battlefield with other students. The daughter is very happy to hear this. She was expecting a similar phrase from her father. The guy says that it's not difficult for him, he's ready to fight. Usually students at the practical training level undergo serious training in the palace. This is the basic training ground. The students and their gang train here after eating. The main character looks at the pandas. They are very lazy, not wanting to work. The 11th one in their place would run with all his might. The teacher continues to say that pandas are very lazy by nature. They are trying to change this little by little through training, otherwise problems may arise on the battlefield. John says that if his panda doesn't complete the training, he won't eat, otherwise the balance won't be maintained. Everyone is shocked because they've never seen pandas like this. The girl says that it sounds very unrealistic because they didn't have anything like that. She asks what the main character did with the 11th when he took him. He remembers the words of the panda. He said that the master gives him too much, which he does not deserve. He will try his best and resent his care with sweat and blood. The men continue to tell the story of how, after hardening their bodies, they engage in sparring to practice their hardening skills. They are approximately at the 8 to 10 year level. The teacher will choose the strongest one for him. He calls out to a man named Jeff, saying they are coming down. The man introduces him to a new student. Jeff looks at his teacher with confusion. Apparently they haven't had any new students for a long time. Not far from the group of people, there are more students of the palace. They make humorous comments about the teacher's daughter. The teacher calls them over so that everyone can meet John. The main character waves his hand, greeting people. Jeff tells him to contact him if he has any questions. The teacher says that he wants the boys to fight, and if the old student loses to the new one, he will train even more with his panda. Jeff thinks there's only one guy he can handle when he agrees to fight. The other students think that they weren't even given a chance to show off in front of their sister. The mentor simply decided to intimidate the newcomer, wanting to show off the true power of their palace. The strongest student asks John to prepare his pet. The protagonist summons the 11th to the battlefield. People around are surprised because the panda is just a cub. It seems he is only at the 6th level of awakening, just a beginner. Jeff's panda is at level 10 and also has the hardening skill at the expert level. His daughter's teachers watch the beginning of the battle with interest. Each of them probably knows the outcome. An experienced student tells a newbie to attack first, otherwise they will knock him out along with the panda with the first blow. The 11th also rushes forward, leaving behind clouds of dust. The girl and the teacher are surprised by the speed. The power is very great. Jeff orders his pet to repel the attack, even though this panda seems to be quite powerful, but still, it is only a cub. An adult will use a skill to harden when an opponent tries to hit it. The guy is confident in his pet's hardening skills. 11th knows what needs to be done, so he uses electricity. The experienced student is surprised because such a skill is only possible for a panda of a supernatural level. He no longer has time to cancel the skill for hardening. The adult animal flies back at great speed. The teacher is very surprised because this is really a thunderpalm. A panda cub at the 6th level of awakening has mastered this skill. It seems that this panda trained hard after acquiring the skill, although it did not reach the point of completely losing its fighting strength. Jeff's panda could be left paralyzed. The guy is very surprised, not believing his eyes. His pet screams loudly, experiencing incredibly severe pain. He is ready to fight back. The 11th gets into a fighting stance to defend himself in case of attack. Jeff uses a skill called Hard Claws. The panda immediately takes off, heading towards his opponent. He thinks that he can't lose to a newbie, even if he uses the Thunderpalm skill, but if he loses to him, it will be a shame. If Truth loses, his panda won't be able to handle the extra training. John tells his pet not to hide, but to continue to maintain a solid form, and then attacks. This is a great opportunity to show off their hardening and smoke palm skills. The rest should be hidden for now. An adult panda cannot hit its cubs because its entire skin is hard as rock. There was no trace of the blow left on the 11th skin. The opponent is surprised by this, because his opponent not only has the skills of Thunderpalm, but also the hardening of the expert level. This skill is higher than his. He tries to hit the little panda, but it doesn't work every time. Then the 11th decides to strike back, concentrating the force on his fist. By inertia, the panda flies high into the air, and the opponent flies towards his owner. She is knocked out, unable to continue fighting. John smiles widely, thanking his opponent for the fight. The man doesn't believe that this cub is at the 6th level of awakening. Perhaps even his students and their certified pandas won't be able to handle him. The teacher comes closer, telling Jeff that he has lost and will now have to train twice as hard. The man thinks his opponent is as strong as his teacher's own son. The teacher tells his experienced student to go and treat his panda, and the new student goes with him. The girl thinks about how the 11th has changed terribly since their last meeting. She angrily shouts at the other students that they too will have to study twice as hard. The students are still not sure that the newcomers are the newcomer because he is very strong. 11th tells his master that the teacher and his face seem familiar to him. A group of people enter a round room with some word written on the floor. The panda and the girl are happy to meet. They look at each other, smiling. They hug tightly. The panda lover understands that this is the same 11th, but it is unknown what happened to him, why he suddenly became so strong. The man says that the main character took excellent care of this panda. It is the best of all he has seen. Suddenly, the pet realizes that she has most likely seen this guy at the base before, but doesn't know who he is. John thanks the man, who replies that the guys have limitless prospects. He is very sorry that he will only be able to teach them a little. The teacher's gaze changes abruptly. He becomes stern and angry. A man opens an unknown portal with a panda symbol. A huge animal appears behind him. He says that he will show how to train the skills of hardening and thunderpalm, and also provide reference materials. John looks at the beast for a moment, realizing it is a fighting panda. The giant pet stands with its arms crossed. It is dressed in wide pants. It looks very menacing. It belongs to the teacher. Various skills of the hardening level should be written reference books, and as for the gram palm, the panda is proficient at the basic level. If you hit the enemy with a powerful electric shock, you can put him into an anesthetic state, but the penetration force is still small. Otherwise, the panda could pierce the enemy and kill him with one blow. Then the teacher turns away from the children, intending to show some technique. The teacher's animal prepares to demonstrate its skill by waving its hand. This is what the current penetration looks like in the thunderpalm skill at the expert level. At this level, even solid steel can be pierced with the thunderpalm skill. John is very surprised. The strength of the 11th compared to this is simply nothing. The panda admires what he sees. He must do even better. The teacher continues to talk about the panda's mistakes. She lacks stability when hitting. Well, at a deeply studied level, the thunderpalm skill goes into a normal state. You can hold the electric current directly in your paws, like in gloves, or use the shock with both paws at once. The giant panda demonstrates another technique, and the man explains that this is an expert-level thunderpalm. Now you can perfect this skill. At the experienced level, the skill has greater current penetration, which means it paralyzes the enemy more powerfully. At this moment, you can generate the most powerful blow, as well as develop unprecedented speed. Once the protagonist has mastered this skill to a remarkable level, the electric current's penetration power, combined with the panda's speed, can be compared to even real lightning. John notes that it sounds very powerful and looks cool. The teacher says that this is not all. We should strive for something else. By snapping his finger, he signals his pet to show him a certain technique. He immediately raises his paw up, lightning flying around him. The beast is transformed, becoming similar to a human. The guys look at the ability with their mouths open. I guess it's a combination of thunderpalm hardening. The experienced panda smiles slyly, realizing that she is the strongest in this place. The girl says that this is cooler than the usual combinations. Combining skills, it goes to an excellent level. The combination of two skills at an excellent level among beastmasters is called a secret meaning. This is a thunder shell, one of the secret meanings of the father panda. With this hidden meaning, the panda can defeat even ruler-level creatures. Combining skills is very difficult. The panda must master both thunderpalm and hardening skills at the same time to combine them, and using these two skills at the same time is not an easy task. The girl looks at her father approaching the panda. They are both very scared, and she is emitting a lot of electric rays from herself. First, you need to think carefully about whether the pet can use two skills at the same time, and then consider whether the powers of the two skills will counter each other. Combination is not the strongest advantage. The strongest advantage is strong skills. If a pet has two skills of an excellent level and can combine them, this is called a sacred meaning. Whether a pet can master a sacred meaning and how strong it will be depends on the cultivation skills of the master. The teacher thinks that it is too early for John and even for many other rulers at the specialist level to know the word sacred meaning. Even for specialists, it is not just too early to know this term, but very early. After all, not every specialist can train his panda to an excellent level, but if the 11th works hard, he will definitely achieve his goal. Suddenly, the protagonist asks if the thunder armor can be improved. His question greatly surprises everyone in the area, because this technique is already very powerful. The guy explains that panda's eyesight is not very good, and at such speed they won't be able to control their actions well. The panda lover says that there are no perfect sacred meanings. With such an ace up your sleeve, in a battle with a not particularly fast opponent, you will already be successful. If there was some skill that allowed one to predict the enemy's movements in order to determine their location, then the effect of the gram shell would be much stronger. It would be better to combine the skill of hardening, thunder palm, and multiplication at an excellent level if you encounter a more powerful opponent. The teacher says the problem is that it is then difficult to master skills related to thinking and feelings. But he likes the way his thoughts are. Every greasy meaning is not perfect and has its own shortcomings. If you add a sacred meaning to a new skill, you can increase its effectiveness. Of course, for the main character, this goal is still far away. His task now is to increase the level of the panda thunder palm skill. Then he can try simple combinations of thunder palm and hardening. Improving the skill of thunder palm is not easy. After all, this skill is not natural for pandas. In order to train in the palace, you need to have a strong ability to withstand stress. To train a skill to an expert level, a pet must have the ability to control strength as well as physical endurance. If a mistake is made during the transition to an excellent level, the pet may get injured and the training process will become too harsh for it. Each stage has its own aspects. If any difficulties arise, the teacher asks you to contact him. He explained to the guy the specifics of each stage of mastering the skills of the thunder palm, but there are still many details left, and mastering all of this is quite difficult. John happily raises his hand, saying that he will try, and the panda thinks about the different approaches of the master and this uncle. Let the protagonist first master the combination of hardening and thunder palm. This will be enough to pass the specialist statue. And if he can perfect his skills and combine hardening, gram palm, and multiplication into one combination, he will be able to wipe the face of the earth, even an entire city. The girl shows John where the equipment for training basic elements is. 11th thinks that it is not clear here that training was in full swing. The panda lover also shows where the electrical training room is located. In this room you can practice the resistance of electric current. In pandas, the maximum force of the impact is a natural level. There is also a conductive pool here, so you can practice water combat techniques and at the same time train your resistance to current. Approaching the pool, the panda says that he wants to go there, but the guy asks him not to rush. If they use all this equipment, the 11th's training will become more complete and scientific. And the main thing here is that there is free food and water. While the main character is thinking about this, his panda falls into the pool. Entering the room, the girl calls her father, who asks if the guests are coming and if they liked everything. He says that they probably liked everything, because Jonah's panda ate a lot. If this panda is really that disciplined and trains a lot, then it can eat more. The girl reads what the panda ate, namely electric ore, steel bamboo, steel wood, golden spirit ore, and their special set meal. Hearing this, the man is shocked. She ate double the portion of food that their pandas eat after training. The teacher says that it is really a lot, but it is normal. The girl explains that they only fought once in the arena before they started any training. He thinks that they will need to stock up on food, but it is not a problem. It is just a panda in the awakening stage. But if the panda grows up and needs more food, he will not be able to provide it. Possesses the ability to fall into absolute sleep. The 11th can digest food faster in his sleep. So there is no need to worry that he eats too much, everything will be absorbed. At this rate, the guy will be able to bring his pet to supernatural levels in just a few months. In this world, pandas live an average of 35 years. If a panda is properly fed and provided with good conditions for development, it will reach the supernatural level in about 10 years. At this age, pandas are already considered adults, and this rate of development is normal for them. Well, the master can speed up this process. For example, the 11th can move to the supernatural level in just 2 years. There's no need to worry about John the panda's level in terms of certification, but his own level is questionable. He needs to look for some means of hardening. There aren't enough tonics anymore. At the panda breeding base, the main character is given a small sensor that records all stages of training. It seems that the father placed all his hopes on John. He hopes his panda can overcome the limits of its species. Suddenly the guy notices something, and I am distracted from looking at the sensor. The girl slowly turns her head, not understanding what happened. The boy shouts at her to be careful, her eyes widening, looking towards the danger. John shouts that he will definitely use all these resources and will cope with everything. If the palace feeds the 11th enough, he will not let them down. He does not want the pet to just eat here for free. The girl smiles sweetly. I am touched by these words. The 11th got a good master. While he is with him, she is calm. Before going to bed, the main character invites his pet to learn a new skill. They stand in front of each other rejoicing at the end of the day. Panda wants to see the limits of his abilities. His owner notes that he is trying harder and harder, but he is gaining skills for no reason. This is not very good. It is essential to compensate them with labor. John activates the learning of a new skill by placing his head on his pet. Waking up in the morning, the main character slowly sits up in his bed. It's good that he takes tonics. With such energy expenditure, he needs to sleep until the evening. The 11th already has mastered the skills of the gram palm at an experienced level. It is unknown whether it is possible to learn anything else today. John notices that his pet is sitting tiredly on the rocks, not exercising at all. He doesn't understand what happened to his animal overnight. The guy slowly approaches him, asking what happened, because he's been kinda quiet today. The pet explains that hardening at a deeply studied level and thunder palm at an experienced level will probably be difficult to combine. They didn't train all night, slept well, ate well, but still can't combine the skills. John, looking at his insect, thinks that he must have been very scared because they trained all night. It's probably a matter of lack of skill, but they'll succeed. The 11th is touched by this, thinking that he has a very kind master. You need to go to the yard again. The main character will no longer allow the panda to train at night. Because he eats a lot, it's better for him to sleep. I should have asked yesterday if it was possible to order delivery, otherwise going out for food every day is quite tiring. Arriving at the palace, John meets his teacher. He asks if he wants to explore the trace of antiquity. According to the military's feedback, this place is indeed better suited for training, and with his abilities, he can gain a lot of benefit. The teacher needs to leave the city for a while. If there are any questions, he asks you to contact his daughter. The gray-haired man explains that the entire city buys food for the pandas here, and they also have a delivery service. The teacher said that he can freely use all the resources. Delivery is also included. He only needs to indicate the quantity, address, and delivery time. The boy is delighted to hear this and then asks for a triple portion of daily food for the pandas every day. There are 3 days left before the Association of Overlords research expedition, and everything necessary is available, namely tonics and food. Now we need to learn a new skill, the skill of intimidation. The main character begins to cast a spell starting today, his Panda King. The 11th one is undergoing a major transformation. He has learned all the necessary skills. All that remains is to perfect them and become stronger.